Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something-yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Director
I was like, is my internet messed up?
I don't know what the fuck happened. I did a couple things wrong, and it was a terrible start to what should be a great show about a fucked up game.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was speeding up. I was like, well, maybe he's just doing that because his voice is about to come in, and it's like, dun, 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 Aldo Gandhi, whatever. I was like, well, that's a nice touch, but I guess it was unintentional. So.
No, it was totally unintentional.
It's like a Matt Nagy completed pass from whatever quarterback it is. It's an absolute accident anytime it happens.
Absolutely. Travis says he is caught in a pretty good storm and he can't wait for tonight's show. Other than the obvious, how was your Cleveland trip? You tell him, Dan, how was your Cleveland trip?
Man, I need to tell you the stuff about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since you weren't able to go.
Yeah.
The part with you was unbelievable, and I want to say this publicly. I should have said it before we went on the air to you privately, but I mean, you were so generous, and it's just, man, no one's ever really just bought me stuff. Like other than my mom, but here you are like, no, let me get this. Let me get this. Let me get this. Let me get that. Let me get this. I got the appetizer, and don't worry about the parking and all this shit, man. It's just, it's overwhelming. Like like I said, I felt like you deserve a fucking man hug, just thank you. And thank you for being my friend. And thank you for doing the show. And just thank you for going, man. Like we turned, I think all in all, the trip into something disastrous in the Browns stadium into something positive. It was fun watching. Of course, we watched the Packers win together because every time I watch Green Bay, they win. So I told you, every time I watch, they win. But even that was fun just because I was sitting there with you and bullshitting. And so all in all, the trip was obviously a success, but the Bears lost. And then if you want me to rant about my clothes, my hoodie and my jersey, I certainly will.
Yeah, but before you do that, let people know whether Brandy or not had a good time.
I'm sorry, you say, did Brandy have a good time?
Correct.
Oh, I think she did. Yeah, she said that, of course, she didn't have a ticket for the Bears-Browns game because, you and I had this plotted months and months ago.
Right.
She's going to go to the Lions game Sunday, but that was just kind of an added, like, oh, cool, you want to go? Well, come on, you're not going to fuck anything up. Let's go. And so, yeah, she went to the baseball game with us Saturday, which, of course, Chicago lost. It was a tough weekend for Chicago.
Oh, shit.
But, yeah, she enjoyed that, and she got to sleep while we were at the game and then go around the shops a little bit and had a good breakfast, she said. And then I think on Monday she enjoyed the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. again, there's a story. It may sound a little bit more negative than what's intended to, but I want to tell you about that too at some point.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Unless you want me to tell you now.
Tell me now. Yeah.
Unlike the NFL Hall of Fame, now I can't specifically tell you how it's organized because I haven't gone since 2012. I passed it both times on the way to Cleveland for my route. Canton's on the way. But I didn't stop this time. I didn't have the time. But it was organized. I don't remember how. Maybe it was by the class, like the class of 1970, the class of 70, or maybe it was by conference or teams or whatever. There was some sort of order. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is complete and utter chaos.
Really?
There's no rhyme or reason. They have this huge display, and rightfully so. I'm not even a Beatles fan, but they have this huge Beatles display, and again, rightfully so. And then, like, right beside it, like, here are the Talking Heads picks. What? Like, it's not broken down for genres or eras, because like the one Brandy specifically is talking about. So we're in like Janis Joplin. So we're thinking, okay, maybe this is like a San Francisco late, like maybe Jefferson Airplane's going to be, or maybe Joan Baez. Like they may have a little display of something like for a specific era or town, like a Seattle or San Francisco. But for the most part, the bands are just spread out everywhere. There's no rhyme or reason to how they're actually displayed. It's hot. The air may have been on, but you have to wear your mask, and it felt like there was no air, but maybe there was some. It was really hot. It was dim. You could miss something easily because there's no tour guide. There is no map. Tells you this is there or this is there.
What the fuck?
And like, for example, I'm a big Doors fan, right? Sure,
me too.
So the Doors had a display that was more or less akin to an 8x10 picture. And then somewhere close by, this is just asinine, they have a huge display for Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift, neither of which, by the way, are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I complained about this to several people. And every time they had a canned response. I mean, it was the same answer from everybody. Well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame depends on donations. So Taylor Swift donated some shit just to be like, I'm Taylor Swift, put me in the Rock and Roll of Fame, even though I don't deserve to be there. So they just hang up all of her shit? I mean, is that how it rolls? I mean, could Zimmerman send his stuff in and they just display it too? I mean, right. I'm not saying Zimmerman's not good. I'm not being that sarcastic. I'm just saying the point is, can anybody just send their shit? So they're like, well, it's donation, so go ahead and post it. The Doors didn't send us anything, so they don't deserve anything.
Well, I want to know how much of a donation it will take, because I'll start a GoFundMe page just to see Steven Zimmerman of the South Burbs Hitmen show be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That would be awesome.
It was, like I said, it's crazy. You know, the NFL Hall of Fame, you have a bust, of your head. I expected something like that, because they did have some like random like outfits. Let's say that James Brown wore, and had it sort of on a mannequin, and they had Blondie, an outfit that Deborah Harry had worn on a mannequin. So I thought maybe they were going to kind of do that for everybody in my head, like going into it, at least for like Michael Jackson and like the big stars. You know what I mean? Sure. But it was kind of disappointing. I mean, for the price, it wasn't overpriced. Right. But if they just had a tour guide, right, or some kind of consistency to where things were, well, if you're in this era of music, so you can expect this, some like, okay, well, let's go find the British invasion shit. Like, where are the animals? Like stuff like, if there was some sort of rhythm to it, was like Matt Nagy's offense. This shit's just everywhere. It's just all over the place without any explanation. Brandy. So the Rock and Roll of Fame, I don't think I'll go back unless I'm with somebody that like is like, please, let's go. I haven't gone or something. Then of course I would go.
Brandy says that Queen drumsticks, that's it?
Yeah, exactly. And another example, and she and I both talked about this. Neither one of us are Bob Dylan fans. That's right. But it doesn't matter. Bob Dylan is still an icon in music.
For sure.
So Bob Dylan deserves like something, and like they act like he wasn't even like real or something. There's this like maybe an 8x10 of Bob Dylan too. It's just, this man was once called the voice of his generation. Now I don't think that's true, but he was dubbed that shit, and he didn't like it, but people were saying that. So he deserves a little bit more respect is what I'm trying to say. But the only bands that really seemed to get any love there were the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Wow. And rightfully so. They both deserve, shrines. They had this huge thing for the Stones that showed like different eras of the band, 60s, 70s, 80s, and all that. And that's cool, man. Like I said, I'm not a big Stones fan, but I have a friend who is. Mm-hmm. So I took some videos and sent it to him, and he was really appreciative of it. And, like I'm not a Grateful Dead fan, but I have a lady that she's got a boyfriend now, so I don't know if that means that's why she didn't respond, but I've known her since college, and she was this huge Grateful Dead fan. So I sent her some Jerry Garcia stuff that I found that we just ran up on like for no reason. It's just like, oh, there's Jerry Garcia stuff. And I sent it to her, and she left me at red, but I was trying to do that along the day. I was trying to send people that I knew were fans of something and send it to them. Did you have sex with this Grateful Dead woman years ago? Yeah, we did in 2010, like 2 or 3 times, and maybe 2 or 3 times in 2018. But we were just more or less friends. Mm-hmm. She's very, very smart. She's very political. She's very liberal. And, she likes, moderately the same kind of music that I do. She doesn't like the heavier stuff. Mm-hmm. By the way, that's another time we take off topic. So anyone listening, this is unbelievable. So, I rent a Mustang on the trip, 6-hour ride. So I got a 2020 Mustang and got satellite radio. I can't wait to just turn on Howard Stern. Because I only listen to Stern now when I'm on road trips, because I don't have Sirius. There's no point in it. I drive, 20 plus minutes to work, and that's it. Right. I mean, why am I going to pay for Sirius? And somehow Ford just decided, well, we're the family fucking car. And Ford had heavy metal stations and Howard Stern blocked out because they are quote unquote too explicit. So I contacted Sirius. There's nothing they can do. They're like, it's not us, even though they wouldn't talk to me. They were just texting me. Right. And it's somehow there were settings on the car you could go through, and nothing was set to be blocked. Like if this was your family car and you had a 4-year-old girl or something like years ago when your daughter was really young, you can block out stations that you feel are inappropriate for kids or something, but nothing was blocked. Mm-hmm. But yet if you went to Howard Stern or heavy metal stations, it was like my Ford Key, whatever, is deemed this restricted. So the lady at Hertz gave me credit off, which I was like, look, I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you, like, next week, can I please get a car when I go to Chicago that will fucking allow me to listen to Howard Stern? And I was like, I don't want anything off my bill, but she gave me like $10 off. I was like, please don't think I'm being an asshole. I just want to listen to Stern on the ride. That's all.
Well, guess what? I got news for you. James Farley Jr. is the CEO of Ford. Guess who his cousin is?
My God, Mitch McConnell.
No, you would think, right? Chris Farley.
Oh, okay, cool.
You would think that a guy who is related to Chris Farley, who could be pretty raunchy with some of his humor, if you've ever seen his stand-up act or anything like that.
And he was one of the super fans.
Yeah, right. One of the super fans. Yep. You would think that he wouldn't put these restrictions on Ford vehicles. That's just fucking ridiculous. I can't believe that. And Brandy said it best, I think, when we were at the Sox game and we were talking about that subject. She said, you're an adult driving a car. So first of all, what is the likelihood there might not be a child in the car? So what the fuck are you worried about? If there are adults driving the car, they should be the ones making determination to block out any content that might be considered unsuitable for children, like this show, by the way.
Yeah, and the Mustang that we were in, I can assure you, even if it was Brandy driving, which to give her credit, she drove the whole way out. On the way there, I drove a little bit on the way. I was going to drive the the lion's share the way home, but I got upset over the clothing thing, which we'll get into in a second. And she saw me at my worst because I was just fucking. It was just okay. Before I get to that, my initial point was to say that even if you're shorter, there's like no back seat at all in that Mustang. I mean, you'd have to be. I don't even think if you had a child in like a kid's seat, whatever they're, the baby seat, whatever the fuck those things are. Zimmerman, I know, has got to have one right now for his newborn.
Right.
One of those like baby seats. I don't even think that would fit in there. This car was tiny. Mm-hmm. It was so small on the way back when I was frustrated that I was afraid to say, just kill me, which is what I always say whenever the Bears lose or whatever, just fucking kill me. You know, I was like, man, if I say that in this little car, someone will hit us and we will die.
Yeah.
So that's how tiny this fucking car was. I wouldn't even chance it.
Yeah.
But can I tell everyone the fucking clothes story now?
Yeah, but before you do, 4,000 Clovers says, yeah, but how was sex with the hippie girl? I think he's referring to Brandy. And so,
was he talking about the Grateful Dead fan, which is Barbie?
Oh, I see. Barbie, Brandy, you got to think for bees, huh? So, but
that's a coincidence. Barbie was one of the only 2 vaginas that I've ever been with that squirted.
Okay.
How about that? But she would be so mad if I said that. So I cannot let her know that I said that. She is not a conservative, but she's conservative on these this would mortify her. So she's a really good lady. She's in a relationship now. And I've been happy for about a year plus. So I don't want to rock the boat for her at all.
All right. We're going to talk about the game plenty, and we got media reaction, local media reaction. We've got a soundbite from Matt Nagy that we've embellished a little bit, but we're going to talk about this story first. And I want to start it off by saying on the day that we're leaving, though, checking out of the hotel, checkout is at 11. So we got to take all our stuff out
and we want to do it, by the way. You called to ask if we could carry our own shit out.
Right. And
which is like, if I'd have done that, my shit wouldn't be in Cleveland right now. Let's just say that.
Well, you gave it away now.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. My bad.
This guy. So we go downstairs to the lobby, and so we ask, can we leave certain things behind so that way Dan and Brandy can go to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then they can come back and get their things and get their car and be on their way. Oh yeah, absolutely. We do it all the time. And so they check in their clothing, and bags. So I will leave the rest to you, Dan.
All right. So she gave me, we had one ticket for the car. Because again, someone had to keep our keys and drive the car, which in itself made me feel extremely paranoid because it's a rental car, and if they lose those fucking keys, then I'm down $250. So the whole time I was internally, if I thought about the valet parking just for a second, it would create anxiety because nobody cares about your stuff the way you care about your stuff. And so I can't carry my own shit to the fucking car, which in itself, again, makes me extremely fucking angry. But I didn't say it. I wasn't a dick to anybody. So, they tag it. All right, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We walk and we go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I don't know if it's coincidental or not, but overwhelmingly the majority of the back is uphill. And, I hadn't pissed in a few hours or something, so when I got back, I was just like dying. I was like, God, I got to piss. So Brandy's like, okay, I got it. So she's got 4 tickets for my 3 for bag. I had a bag that had like my, like my razor and shit like that. And had a bag with clothes and whatever. So I had 3 bags and 1 thing that combined my Justin Fields Navy jersey with a hoodie that I haven't even paid off yet. Again, I had it in 4 installments because if you buy things on, Fanatics or whatever, they give you the chance now to pay in 4 installments. You make 1 immediately and then 1 every other week. So my hoodie was like $85, so I pay like 4 $21 installments, whatever. So I still owe 3 payments on this is what I'm trying to get at. They sent me an email saying my next payment's due tomorrow. I just got the fucker on Saturday. It just came in on Saturday. I wore it to the Sox Indians game. I wore it to the bar. We should shout out the people that I met because I don't remember who I met, but I met people at the bar. But and then so anyway, I love the hoodie. It's sold out. You can't even get it now unless it's a small or a medium. It's a starter Bears hoodie. So that's just my hoodie and my Fields jersey. So Brandy's taking care of that. I'm in the bathroom. I just had to piss. I was gone like 3 minutes. So part of this is on me. Let me just say that. So she's like, I come back and she's like, okay, we got everything. And I was like, all right, so let's put it in the car. And then we're like, well, the car's not here yet. So I just sat down and I just assumed everything was there. And we got in the car and we left when the car came around, which is my fault for not looking through the stuff. It is. But I didn't know that the one thing that Brandy told me while I was pissing, the lady who was there when we left said, well, what's this other ticket for? And it not being Brandy's stuff, she didn't know. But I kept thinking, well, why the fuck didn't she ask me that? Like, oh, by the way, sir, what's this other ticket for? But again, I should have looked through my stuff. This is, in a lot of ways, is on me. If they just let me carry it out, it wouldn't have been a fucking issue. But so we get somewhere past Canton, and it just pops in my head. I didn't see my fucking jersey or my hoodie. I'm driving the car, and it just hit me. And I was just like, and she's like, oh, my God, I didn't either. And this is where the story really gets mad or makes me mad. Suddenly, it's like a Twilight Zone episode. Their fucking phones won't work either. That's right. I mean, if you call them, it will either say, welcome to Verizon. The number you're trying to dial is not reachable. What? And, you call back and they're like, Residence Inn Hotel. Yeah, hi. And then the phone would drop. It would drop your call, or it would just ring and ring and ring. I literally called them over 200 times because I couldn't stop. I was obsessed. I've got to find out if my shit is still there. It's not in the car. Maybe it's not there. I don't know. Finally, we figure out that the stuff is at the hotel. Like 150 calls later, because I can't get them on the phone again to confirm. One person says, yeah, we tried to call Gandaya or something. We tried to call him. Click, basically. And that's when I called you. I was like, have they called you? I knew you were driving. I didn't want to fuck with you. So they either tried to email you or call you, they said, because the room was in your name. So, you're like, hey, calm down. I'm on the road. My wife will call them. We'll take care of it. Don't worry. You're like the calm in the storm and stuff. But I'm like wigging out, like Brandy's like, well, just let me drive because, I'm like frantic. Like, why won't they answer the phone? Fuck. Like I'm not yelling at Brandy or anything personally, which she will vouch for. But I was really like just exasperated. Like, why is this happening? And I'm expecting my shit to never be seen again. I can't rebuy the hoodie. The jersey's fine, whatever. I can buy it again. But anyway, to wrap up the story, ultimately I get somebody on the line who's being a complete and utter fucking asshole to me, of course. But she's like, well, if you're going to have to buy a shipping label. Okay, fine. Let me buy the shipping label. I go to FedEx inside a Walgreens in some town in Ohio, and they're like, well, we can't create labels here. Fuck, of course.
Hurry up and wrap this up. People in the chat room are like saying, come on, talk fucking football already.
Well, I'm sorry if they don't like my fucking Lost Bears story. Like
it is going on a bit long though, Dan.
Well, I'm giving you the details. So anyway, to finish the story, I finally get them on the phone and I get the shipping label and I email it to them. And then for a fucking day, I can't get them to confirm that they got the shipping label. But today they said they do, and they're supposed to mail it tomorrow. But I feel like, are they? I don't know. But I'm sorry that upset some people in the fucking chat.
You're paranoid, Dan. You're fucking paranoid. To call 100 times is paranoid. If you were,
that's not paranoid. They wouldn't answer the fucking phone
because it wasn't fucking working. That's why they told you that.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know if it was Verizon or the hotel. I did not know that at the time.
How many times did you call after they told you that they were having problems with their phone?
Just to find out.
600.
I don't know how many. No. As soon as I found out what their email address was, then I just got them the shipping label. Then I didn't call anymore that day. Period. I just wanted to know that they got the shipping label. So, and then today I called and just said, hey, do you have the shipping label? And are you going to ship it? So she said, we're going to ship it tomorrow. And I said, okay, thank you. If they'd have said that on call 1, then I would have been happy, but.
No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would have been mad at myself for allowing this to happen.
You're so funny, man. You called me up and you sounded so fucking desperate, like your fucking children were missing.
Man, it's my Fields jersey. I mean, I know he played like
oh my
shit
gosh,
Sunday,
it's your Fields jersey. Oh my God,
my
it's
Fields
like your
jersey and my
3-year-old.
hoodie that you can't rebuy. You can't buy it, and I still fucking owe on it. And if anybody's a real Bear fan, they should understand this.
Somebody, Herney777 says it was probably repossessed because you failed to pay on payment.
No, I didn't.
It's a joke. It's a fucking joke. Jesus.
It's a $21 installment. If I can't fucking pay on it, then Jesus Christ, I couldn't afford it to go to the game.
Yeah, you say that. You keep buying more tickets to concerts and stuff.
Well,
yeah, right. Yeah, right. Okay. Dan, you are one trippy motherfucker. All right, let's talk Bears football. What'd you think about this game?
The game. Oh my God. Well, we talked about it a little bit with Buffon. What aspect do you want me to just? Oh fuck it, I'll just jump in. Well, we got there, and early on, immediately, you said, which is worth mentioning again. You said, "Isn't it funny how the Browns players seem to be warming up and practicing plays, and the Bears guys are just standing around?" In the pregame, the Browns are like running their full fucking offense, and the Bears are just standing there high-fiving each other, not doing shit.
It is so true, guys. We got there early, got our seats, so we wanted to see the pregame workouts and so forth. The Bears workout was nothing like the Browns, where they were energetic and stretching and throwing the ball and so forth. The Bears were lethargic, and which comes back to my argument that the Matt Nagy rarely gets this team fired up coming out of the tunnel, that they have weak first quarters. Well, I saw firsthand a team that wasn't even fucking stretching. I was so frustrated, and Dan is so nervous about the game that it started to rub off on me. I started to get fucking nervous too. And then when I see this lackadaisical warm up, I'm like, what the fuck? This guy can't even coach his team to have an impressive looking warm up. Go ahead, please.
O'Donnell was booming the ball, and I think that carried over to the game. I did. That's something else I should say. Normally, of course, I record all the games on DVD and I edit out the commercials. This was so bad that I just hit record and let it go for 3.5 hours or whatever. I'm not editing out the commercials. I'm not even rewatching it. So I'm not even watching the TV copy. I'm never watching it. So I don't know what O'Donnell's average was, because as you know, we were in the stadium. But I'm guessing he was booming like 55, 60-yard punts, because it was amazing. And you said that in the pregame too. Like, well, damn, O'Donnell's looking great today. Mm-hmm. And Santos looked really good on one side of the stadium. The one closest to us, he was going short on, but he was practicing long kicks too. Mm-hmm. And it was a little bit windy in there. The goalposts were moving a little bit. It wasn't like, the game where Nathan Vasher returned that kick in 2005 windy, but it was, it was windy. But yeah, even in the pregame, it just looked like the Bears going through the motions, and Cleveland's looking at you like, we're coming after you. I heard this today as I was cleaning house. I don't know if you knew this or not, but who's the guy that devastated us for 4.5 sacks? The guy that threw the helmet for the Steelers guy a few years ago. Help me out. What's his name? Number 1 draft pick. He's number 95 for the Browns.
Yeah, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, Garrett. Garrett evidently was quoted as saying, according to whichever post game, I listened to Jason Leisures and I listened to Dan Hampton. One of them, somebody quoted him as saying that after the second possession, we felt extremely comfortable and realized what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And they weren't worried, because initially they thought that Fields was going to be running waggles and bootlegs and rollouts and shit all day. And they were like, we got to go chase this motherfucker now. And, it's kind of hot today, and they realized he wasn't doing any of that. He's just going to stand there and drop back. And they were like, all right, let's go get him. Which again, it's such a huge indictment on Matt Nagy, when on by the second possession, your opponent's like, well, we figured it out. We know what they're doing. Doesn't it make you mad to hear that? I mean, I'm sure the guy wasn't talking shit when he said it. He was just being honest.
Mm-hmm. It went beyond making me mad. It also made me sad. And we'll talk about this more after we play some of the media sound bites, I collected Chicago local media sound bites and some national sound bites. But I really got sad about the whole thing. I went through kind of the stages of grief where you get angry and you get sad. There's no denial because it's clear. You can't deny the fact that this guy is incapable of coaching. He's gotten worse. You know how he talks about, and I'm learning too, and so forth. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're a stubborn son of a bitch, and you want to do it your way. And then at Monday's press conference, we're evaluating everything. We're looking at everything. And it's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke the way this guy is. In fact, it's so comical that I cut this together.
It's stating the obvious to say that
oh shit, here we go again.
You know, we obviously got to be a heck of a lot better offensively.
No shit, Sherlock.
And find ways to get into a rhythm.
Oh, okay.
I feel like as you watch the tape, in really all different areas, not just one person, in a lot of different areas, all of us.
Oh, fucking what the fuck?
I know. Look at this fucking guy.
Just being better, getting into that rhythm, whether it's the protection, whether it's the run game, whether it's staying out of 3rd and longs.
That was a good one.
You know, we had those 3rd and 22 and 3rd and 14 and a 3rd and 2 in the first half of the 17 plays we had. So
number 1, he who smelt it, dealt it.
What we'll do is we will make sure that we evaluate all of us.
You're a fucking idiot.
You know, and understand that we got a big division game against Detroit this week for the 4th week.
Oh, crap. Easy there. Hey, shouldn't you be in Detroit losing a football game right now?
The guys get back in here, we'll go through it with them, and we'll correct our mistakes. And understand that, you know, you get to a point yesterday where, statistically, when you look at that and you see what went on and what happened, we understand that we're all very frustrated and angry, but it's about solutions now, and we got to do it, and that's going to be my job as the head coach. I need to do that, and it starts with me.
Fuck you. Fuck the plane you flew in on. Now get the fuck out of my hotel room. And if I see you in the street, I'm slapping the shit out of you.
That was Matt Nagy's first words in Monday's press conference. It was even more downhill from there. And I'm at a loss for words at how ridiculous this motherfucker looks now. And we're in our sad period where we are looking at this organization and thinking it's in a fucking embarrassment, an embarrassment.
Mark Carman on WGN show, who's the straight lace guy, and he's the host with Hampton and OB, and Koss comes on too. I don't know who did it for him, but I don't know if it was him, it was a staff member or whatever, but they had a layout of various post-game quotes from Matt Nagy from, say, 2019, one from 2020, and then compared it to what he said on Sunday after the game. They didn't have that one because that was Monday, I guess, right? But they had 3 quotes that sounded basically the same, with him saying, "This is on me. This is on me," which sounds good on paper. But he has said this shit so many times was their point. Mm-hmm. And you don't even know what year it is. It could be 19, could be 21. They're like, all this together, like he's not learning. How much more do you need to see before you make a fucking move?
Mm-hmm.
It's awful.
I've seen enough. And we know the Bears' history. They don't fire coaches in the middle of the season. Well, they got to fucking change history. In order to change results, you need to stop doing the same shit you've been doing over and over and over and over again. Travis has the chat line of the day. He's got a bunch of clown emojis followed by shit emojis followed by clowns and more shit. It's a work of art.
Think about this. The game famously in 2000 that got Cade McNown shipped out of here basically was when they went to San Francisco. It was Jerry Rice Day. Terrell Owens had 20 catches. Week 16 of 2000. And the Bears offense didn't make it past midfield all day. Mm-hmm. You know what they had? What? They had more total yards than Sunday. They had more passing yards than Sunday. conversely, a couple of years ago when we had Matt fucking Barkley and basically his number one receiver was Josh Bellamy or Deontay Thompson, they had much more yardage passing and total yards. The Browns had the ball for like 41 minutes on Sunday. And this guy's got Allen Robinson. He's got, what you think is a good tight end in Komet. I'm starting to worry about that, but they got Jimmy Graham. They got Mooney. The people we got much better than the people that Matt Barkley was throwing to. And they're able to move the ball, but not with this fucking guy. Not this guy. It doesn't matter how many toys he has to play with. He can't do anything with them. It's awful. This is, you feel like there was the 6-game losing streak or the 4-game the year before, but dare I say this is his rock bottom?
Yeah, it is his rock bottom, because if they have another performance like this against Detroit
at home,
I'm pretty sure you and I are going to storm the field.
He may get the hook on Sunday after the game. If they play like this against Detroit and the fans at Soldier Field are booing, that might be what gets him fired. Make the McCaskey, whom we saw Saturday, by the way, make a move. But are you afraid? Let me ask you, are you afraid that to try to soften the blow on any criticism, he's going to just start Foles now on Sunday so he can be like, well, if they have the next putrid performance, he can be like, well, we still have the rookie. We're still trying to get him ready. Because if Fields plays bad another game, then it's on him. But he buys himself time if he puts Nick Foles in there. Don't you think that might happen?
I do. They're all and the media clips that I have here. I'm not sure I included the one that perhaps Nagy sabotaged this whole thing to kind of prove to people. I told you Justin Fields wasn't ready. So he didn't provide the protections. He didn't provide the scheme and the play calling and the so forth to sort of underline that he was correct about not starting Justin Fields. Now, I don't think that's true, but maybe subconsciously Matt Nagy sabotaged his own team. I mean, because he's such a fucking egomaniac. And it was, at first when he came in and says, all starts with me, this is after the game, the press conference after the game, all starts with me, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, at first I thought, well, that's good. He's taking accountability for that. But he really isn't. He really isn't. Although he just
wants you to say, oh, you did the right thing, coach. It's just to make him look good.
Yeah. He's got to feel that his job is in danger at this point. I mean, unless he is blowing George McCaskey and McCaskey loves it, there's just no fucking way that his job isn't on the line. I don't care what assurances were given to him. I don't care. What happened Sunday was an atrocity.
I agree with you. A good segue quickly to tell the chat room is that you and I were referred to as homosexuals
yes.
at the game. So we're sitting there after this beatdown. It's like we're sitting there stunned the way Fields is looking on the sideline.
Yes.
How is this happening? So you and I are just sitting there like, should we leave? Should we just sit here? What do we do? It's like we're at a fucking wake. And the Browns fans are jubilant and walking up at the stadium and they're like, oh, well, look, you two guys still have each other. You're in love. And my comment to him was like, thanks, homophobe. But yeah, we were accused of being lovers just because we're sitting in the fucking stadium.
I'm on top. That's all I know.
Hey, you know what? I hate to say it, but a little gay sex would have probably been better than what we saw on Sunday.
Not for me.
It was so bad. Like we went to the worst game imaginable. Yep. I mean, seriously, this is one of the lowest moments. Like you've been a Bears fan longer than me. Can you honestly think of a game that was probably worse in your tenure of watching football?
Yeah, those two 50-point losses on consecutive games.
Well, okay. Right.
That to me was the low point that I've ever seen in Chicago Bears history. And I started following them in earnest in that 1969 1-13 season. So I've seen a lot of terrible shit. But those two 50-point losses, Packers scored 50, on the
Patriots.
And the Patriots. Was the Patriots game nationally televised? I remember the Packers game was.
I don't believe so. It was a 1 p.m. East noon Central kickoff at the New England game.
Right.
That was the first game that I watched in my house. I had just moved in my house.
Your new house, and so that was a great way to inaugurate.
Yeah. And that probably led to the divorce. That was just like, this is not going to work.
All right, let me cue up this media stuff. It's about 12, 13 minutes of stuff. Yeah, I got a lot in here. So a lot of this is local radio media, the day of the game, but there's some stuff from Monday as well, and there's national media stuff in here towards the end. So pretty self-explanatory what they're saying, and a lot of it is really, really good and thorough. Here it comes.
Oh, I mean, we keep going over it, right? The 1.1 yards per play, the one passing yard. I saw a stat on ESPN that said Justin Fields, 1 of 7 for X number of yards with more than 2.5 seconds to throw. The worst in the NFL with that much time to throw since 2018, tied with Kendall Hinton. If you guys don't remember Kendall Hinton.
Oh, that's Appalachian
Kendall
State.
Hinton.
Oh, no, Wake Forest.
Hinton. The
Bronco quarterback.
The Bronco quarterback who was the Wake Forest receiver who had to play quarterback when all of their QBs got COVID during the pandemic. And a receiver was playing quarterback. A practice squad receiver was playing quarterback in the NFL. Man. So that's a pretty good one.
There should be criminal charges filed against Nagy, not only for impersonating a head coach, but an offensive coordinator, and how about even a human being? As you said, the most important player on this or in this organization isn't George, isn't Pace, isn't Khalil Mack. It's the quarterback now. It is the future of your franchise. The next decade is all about him, and to leave him in there and let him take a beating that was merciless and act like you didn't have any concern about it is sickening. It's sickening.
If Nagy is the head coach tomorrow, that would have to be the laughing stock in the city of Chicago. He is a disgrace. Folks, we have 26 coaches from Nagy down to whoever the last guy is. 26 coaches. We passed for 83 yards last week, and we have a total net yardage of 47 yards and 1 passing yard, and this is a passing league, and this guy Nagy's our head coach. I'm not making this stuff up, folks. You can't believe this.
My partners, we're looking at each other. We're incredulous. We can't believe what we just saw for 3 hours. But here's the bottom line. It's the ultimate insult to the reputation of not only the Chicago Bears, but to the public trust. Anybody that has anything to do with Chicago is embarrassed.
Let's face it, and I know this isn't the number one thing. Justin Fields was overmatched in this one, and I know that scheme didn't do anything for him. But even when he did have, the few times he did have a clean pocket and he did have open receivers, he was not hitting them. So I think that I guess there are things that they could have done in terms of maybe more protection and blocking and things like that. But it just felt like no matter what they were going to do, they were going to remain helpless.
John Elway's first start, 1 for 8 for 14 yards, 4 sacks and an interception, passer rating of 0. Troy Aikman's first start, passer rating of 40, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. Peyton Manning's first start, 3 interceptions, 4 sacks, passer rating of 58.6. If you're good, you will learn from this and survive and thrive. I mean, that's what we've been talking about with Fields. I don't think Fields is going to be broken by one of these. 6 of these, 7 of these, with no adjustments from the coach and no help protecting and getting battered 8 or 9 times every game, maybe. But one,
I think it's just a step back. Of course, this didn't ruin his career, and of course, I still think Justin Fields can be great in his career. But this is 1 or 2 steps back. Like, I think this is something from which he has to recover, not something from which he will learn.
Number one thing was Matt Nagy is lucky. Like, he is lucky that he came out of that game with a bruised hand and a negative X-ray.
He was getting squarely. These weren't just shoestring tackles.
Yeah, if he came out of that with a Joe Burrow injury on a play where he left Myles Garrett with no extra protection for Jason Peters, Matt Nagy is, he is fired. Not literally fired today, but his career is over.
I saw that kid in the pocket, and I saw him getting killed in the pocket. And David, just for a little icing on the cake, you have him stay in, and you go for it on a 4th and 10 when you have absolutely no chance of you're averaging, a yard, 1.1 yards a game? I'll have to check the Twitter account of one Jimmy Graham to verify. But the idea that you go for it on 4th and 10 just to get one last sack of him, right? I don't know what else you're thinking. And he hurts his hand, and he has to get an X-ray on his right hand after the game. I don't understand why you did that to him. What was the purpose of that? And to me, that's a microcosm of the entirety of what we saw on Sunday.
Poor judgment, loss of poise, and you put him in harm's way. And it was indicative of everything else that happened throughout the course of a long day. Mully, 40 inches per play is what the Bears averaged. 1.1 yards, 40 inches per play. And as some smart aleck texted me, it is a game of inches for the Bears. That was you. And well played, but that was embarrassing offensively.
If you didn't see this coming, you haven't been watching. So the offense has been built this way. I was part of an offense that played against the Giants that gave up 9 sacks, okay? We had Jamarcus Webb at left tackle. We had Lance Lewis, 2 7th-round picks. We had Frank Omiyale, Jamarcus Webb was the right tackle. We had me. I was quite old in my 13th year. We had Roberto Garza. He was in his 10th year. If you didn't see the way this offensive line has been built, the way Coach Nagy has been calling plays, how bad the offense has been for years, if you didn't see a performance like this coming, you just haven't been watching the Chicago Bears. And early in the week, talked about a lot. He has to consider at least firing himself as offensive coordinator.
Just looking at last week, how close that game was. We won that game by 3 points, and we had 4 takeaways, scored on defense, and we still only were able to win by 3. So this is the way this team is built now. So now we need that performance every week in order to win. That's the performance you need. Now we revert back to what we saw a little bit of that first game. We had some sacks, but then we got missed tackles on the back end, whether that's linebackers, whether that's Eddie Jackson, other defensive players. Both safeties on the Kareem Hunt run, both of them had a chance to make a tackle. Now, totally different tackles. One had a chance to make the tackle in the backfield. The other one had a chance, but he has to understand, Eddie has to understand, if he gets by me, it's a touchdown. So you break down and you get him to the ground. That is like understanding what type of tackle you have to make. You can't come in and make a big hit on that one. You got to get him to the ground.
I truly believe if George McCaskey cares about winning, not this season, that team's not going anywhere. He's talking about developing another quarterback they traded up to get. Matt Nagy should not have an office tomorrow. He should be fired tomorrow. You can't put as incompetent a play-calling scheme out there today, which looked almost like he wanted to say, I told you he wasn't ready. I want Andy Dalton back in.
Right, that's what it did. It did look that way.
So if you take a look, just the way they're built. So in 2019, when they fired people, they said the offensive line was the problem, right? They fired the head coach. They fired Heffrick because they couldn't run the ball. So they've been trying to fix this since 2019. Like Cap said, eventually you have to say they don't know how to fix the offense.
Literally is no other way of describing the Chicago Bears right now with how they've mismanaged quarterbacks over the Matt Nagy tenure than a dumpster fire. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You know, when he saw a decline in their offensive production, he blamed it on the former offensive coordinator, Mark Helfrich. They fired some other assistants on that staff, Harry Hiestand. who have really, really strong reputations amongst coaching circles. So that was surprising, but he used them to be the scapegoat. Then it was Mitchell Trubisky, and they blamed everything and put it all on him, even though I never felt like they ran a system that played to his strengths. And now you get in Andy Dalton, you get in Justin Fields, and nothing works within this offense. I mean, he has no one to blame but himself at this point in time. The number one job of an NFL coach is you should walk into that game versus the Cleveland Browns and say, I'm not going to let Myles Garrett beat us. He's the best defensive player on the Browns team. I can't let him beat us. They didn't put together a game plan to stop Myles Garrett. That's a direct indictment on him and the lack of coaching or game planning he did. There's no excuses about it. I mean, this is as bad of a job as I've ever seen as far as game planning goes, in particular for a rookie quarterback.
The Chicago Bears should fire Matt Nagy today. Dang. Because yesterday's game plan, which was the worst one I've ever seen in my life, was either negligence or intentional. It's been 149 days since the Bears drafted Justin Fields. You had 149 days to start to build the game plan around the skill set of this young man, and it was an embarrassment. Justin Fields threw the ball 20 times yesterday. 13 times they went with 5-man protection with no help for their offensive line. 13 out of 20. Yesterday you showed us that you are incapable of designing the proper game plan around a dynamic quarterback, or you showed us that it was intentional, that you wanted him to fail and you set him up to be a disaster.
Look, I'm a dumb defensive coach, right? I'm so dumb, I would drop back 21 times, 30 dropbacks in this game. 21 times I'm going to go 5-man protection. Mm-hmm. Are you out of your mind? I wouldn't do that with Tom Brady. This is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I've said it from day one. When we said, remember, I loved Mitchell Trubisky. Because I said, hey, Mitchell Vick, I liked him. Well, you never gave him a dang chance. You won Coach of the Year right in the back of that kid, and then you threw his ass away. Now you also got Nick Foles. Great job, great pickup. You picked up a guy that's proven not to be an NFL starter in this league. Now here's your decision. The great decision. You drafted a guy with unbelievable ability, and you're going to go out there and get him killed. Yeah. I don't get it.
As an ownership and Ryan Pace, the general manager, you go, we're going to trust you. That's the guy that you want. We'll go get him. And you roll him out and do that, you move the pocket once in the first half. One time.
Middle of the second quarter, though.
One time.
It's to the middle of the second quarter.
One time. You don't design routes. You ran the same third down situation. 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 7. You ran the same play twice. The same play twice. You're getting paid for that. That's what you build with the game plan that you have. From the moment you drafted Justin Fields, you should have been designing all these game plans. So when he gets on the field, you unleash him. And it's a Colin Kaepernick type situation where we've
never seen it before.
Never seen it before. Yeah. But you're dropping back and you're going, we can block this defensive 5-man protection. Don't tell me he's not ready. It's your freaking job to get him ready to play. And you figure out the things he can't do, and you don't do it.
You know, I just love when I come on the show and I'm actually the nicest person talking.
Oh, man. That was wild. That was super wild. Dan, what'd you think?
Yeah, the Rex Ryan stuff I thought was my favorite of the piece. Of course, I'm just listening to it and not watching it. Mm-hmm. But I think that was Dan Graziano. Was that who the high pitched voice guy was?
No, that Dan Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky. Okay. Yeah. So both of them, I liked that they were beating up on Nagy, but Rex's points seemed so like poignant and like just spot on. I wouldn't try this game plan with Tom Brady. So why are you trying it with the man making his first start? I mean, it was so like on point. I love Dave Kaplan, as you know, and I like the fact he wants Nagy gone, and it was a great job by you. The compilation was spot on. Of course, the stuff that OB and Hampton were saying, everything, man. It's just like everyone, like I told you in a voice message several hours ago. I mean, it to a certain extent, maybe sometimes it'd say we're the meatheads, we're the fans. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about. But it seems like we're in the consensus with everybody, not just the Chicago media, the national media, the other fans. I mean, I don't know anyone who's defending Nagy at this point. We're definitely on the side of the mob right now.
Yeah, Isaiah Robles points out that Benjamin Albright, who, for those who don't know, he is a Denver sportscaster. We had him on once about 2-3 years ago. He's got kind of a lot of insider knowledge, sometimes provocative opinions and so forth. And he says, Nagy shares some of the blame, but like Mark Grody said, he says it's clear that Justin Fields, and again, this is Benjamin Albright saying, it's clear that Justin Fields is not ready yet. And he's not ready because the game plan is working against him. I think that's what Benjamin Albright needs to know. He's not ready because the offensive line is putrid. And I think Albright in one of his tweets acknowledged that the offensive line is poor. But he's not ready because it's the poor coaching around him. It's not about the guy's skills. He can get the job done. We saw him against the Cincinnati Bengals. He threw a beautiful pass to Allen Robinson, who dropped it in the end zone. So it's not just Justin Fields. It's a lot of the team around him, and especially the coaching staff, that is really hurting this guy. And as one of the broadcasters said, it's almost a miracle that guy came out of there with just a bad hand, and that it wasn't a much more serious injury that he suffered in that game, the way he was put out to dry there. It was criminal, as Dan Hampton said.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And you may recall that I said this at the stadium. It felt like everything that the Browns did was easy, and everything we did, we couldn't even fucking complete a pass.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was so hard. I mean, other people have said this too, so it's not just me. I'm not the genius here. I'm not Matt Nagy calling myself a genius. But why no screen passes? Why no rollouts? Why not something? The game plan that others implement to control Khalil Mack, lots of double teams, lots of chipping. Why can't you use that to see how they handle our superstar,
right?
Who is the pass rusher on our team, and use that against them?
Right.
Like, use some of that. How about bring in JP Holtz, either at, your H-back, your tight end, your fullback, whatever you want to call him, but in the fullback position, and help out with 71 out there on the left if he needs it, or over here on the right tackle side with the Fetty. Whatever you got to do, man. Like, just give him another second, and then maybe he can make a throw to Robinson or Mooney downfield. But Nagy's not letting them run routes downfield. But another thing that you have said before, and I didn't focus on this during the game, but I think it's still very it's very poignant to point out right now, is to say that our receivers never seem to have any separation, and some of that has got to be on Mike Furry, the wide receiver coach. No one's ever open. If you got this blazing speed, why is that?
Mm-hmm.
And our tight ends are never used. And I am starting to worry about Kmet too. I mean, I'm not going to, some people are calling Fields a bust now, which is, to me, is insane.
Totally.
I mean,
that's totally
one
stupid.
Start.
Yeah.
But I am starting to worry about Kmet. We've seen him a lot now. And God, is he ever going to do anything? But maybe that's Nagy again, who's holding him back too. And then Jimmy Graham gets like 5 snaps and you're paying him $10 million. You let Kyle Fuller go with that money. So you got to play the guy some.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not done. I mean, he's not the guy it was in New Orleans, but he could help Fields out.
Mm-hmm.
For one, like when you're down there in the end zone, like you said, man, hey, let's single up Graham and throw the ball up to him. Just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't see that either. It's just, what was he doing? What do you think Nagy thought he was going to do with that game plan?
Get Justin Fields killed, perhaps. He was out for murder. It's hilarious that Dan, during the course of the game, we're sitting next to a couple of guys to our right, and Dan's Dan's talking to them, and Dan is saying, correct me because I'm paraphrasing here, but Dan, you would say stuff like, we need to fucking kill Matt Nagy. We need to run down there and do like the Monica Seles guy.
Yeah, I brought that up, the 1993 French Open, when someone ran down and stabbed Monica Seles on the court, no less. I guess she was a Steffi Graf fan.
Yes.
But I was like, I'm not saying I want this to happen, but if someone
But
ran
you
down and
did.
stabbed Matt Nagy right now, I wouldn't be upset. And then when the guy got hurt, they had to stretcher the one, like the sound guy out or whatever. When Eddie Jackson ran into him late in the game, I was like, it's too bad that he's not on the stretcher, Matt Nagy. And then we heard that Andy Reid went to the hospital after the game. I was like, it's too bad it's not Matt Nagy.
That's right. And then I said, yeah, you probably wish Matt Nagy had the adjoining room next to Andy Reid.
I was like, remember Mike Ditka had a heart attack in season. Maybe that could happen to Matt Nagy. Of course, I'm saying all this with I'm not really wishing ill will on Matt Nagy. He was trying to make you laugh and to try to make myself feel better. I really don't want the guy to die or be stabbed, but I don't want him to coach the Bears either.
I was really cracking up when you turned to those two guys and you said, yeah, that's big dick Nick Foles.
Yeah, they didn't know. I was like, yeah, Foles, man, he's won a Super Bowl. He doesn't have to. He's been paid. He doesn't give a shit what this offense is doing. He's and he's got a big dick. And they looked at me like, what? I was like, yeah, this goes back to Philly. He's got a giant cock. And the guy that was sent, this was a cool anecdote, we should say. And we said this on Buffone's show. But the guy looks like he was super cool, man. Like the Browns kid, he was probably 24-5, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at me and he goes, I don't have a problem with the Bears. I just want you to know, but I am rooting for the Browns. Of course, we get it. He's like, but I think you all are closer than some people think. He's like, and this is in the pregame before the kickoff.
Right.
He goes, and I hadn't said anything to him other than, hey, how are you? What's up? Whatever. He goes, the biggest problem I think you all have is Coach Matt Nagy. We're like, fuck yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the game went on, he told me that he went to high school with Cleveland's Denzel Ward.
Right.
And he was complimenting how Ward had never changed and was the same guy. And ironically, I was drinking out a cup that you bought for me, again, a soda at the stadium that had Denzel Ward's face on it. So I was like, is this surreal? You went to high school with the guy who the cup I'm drinking out of? He was like, yeah, he's a great guy though. So anyway.
PZ says Reed went to the hospital when he saw the Bears game film.
Do you think Nagy texted Reed at some point? Because remember, that was his mentor. Do you think is that uncouth to do that if you were on the verge of being fired? Let's say when you were working at the TV station there in Chicago, and for some reason it looked like there's all kinds of pressure on you, would you reach out? Like you could be losing your gig. Would you reach out to whomever you looked up to during those times?
Yeah. To try to get some advice on how to handle things. Yeah, I think that's absolutely okay. I think in Matt Nagy's case, that if he were to call Andy Reid would say, who? Matt who? I don't know anybody. Hang up on him.
But do you think Nagy would be like, I'm a coach, I don't have to call Andy Reid? I don't know. Or would he call him just to try to like?
Well, everyone believes that he's so arrogant that he probably wouldn't do that. But I think he's in survival mode now. If you listen to Monday's press conference, he sounded like he was dejected and sad, and he's in survival mode. Yeah. So I'm sure he's thinking about everything to try to hold on to this great job of coaching one of the historic franchises. And one of the things Benjamin Albright, I think, or said in a tweet, or one of his responses, one of the respondees to his tweet, is that who is going to hire Matt Nagy after what was seen yesterday or Sunday against the Browns? Who? Would you hire him as your offensive coordinator? Would you hire him as your quarterback coach? No. He's on his way to college football or something. I don't think he's got it. High school probably, but I don't think he's got an NFL career, at least not anytime soon.
Or unless Andy Reid brings him back just because of the sentimentality. That's probably his best bet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he can go and intern again for Andy Reid and not get paid. I don't know, but cut the film up or something.
Yeah. And that's the thing is with Matt Nagy, is that he does remind me a lot of Mark Trestman, and I think he's going to have a Mark Trestman type career. Matt Nagy will be coaching in some other league.
Oh, you think he's CFL bound?
Yeah, I think I really think he is. I think that, and he might find success there, but he's not an NFL coach, at least not now and not for the foreseeable future. And hopefully his future with the Chicago Bears isn't going to last very long. I mean, I hope that it does. I hope that Sunday he comes out with a dramatic change in game plan. Bill Lazor's calling the plays. He's more of the CEO coach overseeing things, and that the Bears beat the shit out of Lions 30-3, and that the following week against the Raiders, they go there and they have another excellent game, and Lazor is again calling the plays, and he's clearly set his ego aside and he's managing. Then I will change my mind. I want this guy. That's the Matt Nagy I want. But the fucking Matt Nagy that showed up at Cleveland, that Matt Nagy that ruined Mitchell Trubisky, and for those people who say, well, Mitchell Trubisky, isn't an NFL quarterback. Well, that's what I was saying when they drafted him, but he showed me enough that he is capable of winning. He had a winning record with the Bears, and he did a lot of good things.
He took Matt Nagy's offense to the plaffs 2 times.
Yeah, that offense.
Think about that.
Right, that
offense.
So, and I hate to keep bringing up Mitchell Trubisky, but I think it's much more relevant now than ever before, because it appears the evidence is mounting now that Mitchell Trubisky could have perhaps had a better career as quarterback of the Chicago Bears if somebody else was the head coach, if somebody else was calling the plays, if somebody else who is not Matt Nagy was the primary source of developing that quarterback.
I totally agree with you, and it is relevant. It's not just pulling out something in the Wayback Machine just for content's sake, because Trubisky his story is linked with Nagy, and they in January, after just the flat as hell playoff performance with no life whatsoever, they basically just looked like they did in Cleveland in the warmups. After Javon Wims dropped that touchdown pass, they're just going through the motions, and that's who they are. And then after the press conference, he's smirking and shit, and we basically blame it on Mitch and say, no, the coach he just got to draft his guy. That's what the problem is. It's Mitch is the problem. So now when it looks more evident that it is the coach, then Mitch is definitely something you have to bring up. But one more thing I want to acknowledge what you were saying that worries me. You remember, I guess it was 19, but maybe it was 20, but I think it was 19 when Nagy said how Nagy's press conferences are, you just can't, they just run together. He said something like, if Lazor's calling the plays, you probably won't know it. It's not like I'm going to tell you. So, that's, if that happens, exactly what you said, and Bill Lazor's calling plays in against the Raiders and against Detroit, he's not going to come out and say it because he wants you to praise him, even if he doesn't deserve that recognition.
I had forgotten about that whole thing. If Bill Lazor,
you remember it though, right? Now that I acknowledge
absolutely,
it, right?
Absolutely. Okay. And that is, I don't know, man. I'm trying to censor myself because I don't want to go completely off.
No, go ahead, say it, man. This isn't Buffoon's show. This is the Rated R show. You can say what you need to say.
I just, I try real hard to give people the benefit of the doubt. I try real hard to be kind to people, but I'm fucking fed up. I'm fucking fed up with this idiot, incompetent asshole. A year ago, if you would have said this motherfucker can never turn things around, I would have, been that contrary voice and says, well, maybe this or maybe that, but I can't fucking do that anymore. This guy has pissed me off so fucking much that I want him gone. I want him gone. If they have a plaque, what coach is he, the 17th or 18th? If they have a plaque, they need to take that fucking plaque down, and whatever coach he is in the history of Bears coaching, just have a blank space there. And for Trestman too, just a blank fucking space there. I don't want them to be associated with the Chicago Bears because there are incompetent idiots. And a number of people have been saying, yes, but nothing is going to change until the organization makes some changes at the top. And clearly we're talking about Ted Phillips. Clearly we're talking about Ryan Pace. Yes, it's time for those two fuckers to go too. I don't think that the management team has to be changed, the McCaskies, because if they don't fucking fire Ted Phillips after the season, then yes, then I will pray. I will do whatever is necessary to hope that the Bears will sell the franchise to a more competent management team, not one that's just going to take the fucking money and be satisfied with mediocrity, satisfied with an embarrassment, satisfied with the fucking bullshit that we saw on Sunday. It's time. It's time. And I'm still trying to compose myself, man.
No, it's good. I love you. Do it. I've got a tweet that'll make you feel better. This is like, you're going to enjoy this. Okay. Not that I'm trying to steal Shane's gimmick. This is right on with what you're saying. The lady's name is Anna Colwell. I think it's Colwell at Real Anna Colwell. If I'm mispronouncing her name, I apologize, but trust me, you'll like this quote. The Bears are not a football team. They are a trust headed by a 97-year-old woman who inherited this trust. The purpose of this trust is to earn income to be distributed annually to the beneficiaries of the trust and appreciate and value, not win football games. This is why you have Ted Phillips, an accountant, as president, and two sons, Michael and George McCaskey, that were given management positions. There are no football people running this trust, and there haven't been since George Halas died in 1983. Sadly, I don't see anything changing until this business structure changes. End quote.
Wow, that's a great fucking tweet.
Yeah, absolutely. I retweeted it yesterday. So you can see I didn't embellish any of that shit if you go on my timeline there.
That is a great tweet. And I got a good buddy. His name is John Roach. And he told me many, many years ago, nothing is going to change in Chicago because it's the management of that team that is ruining that franchise. And I fought back and said, no, they made some bad decisions, but I don't really think it's dumb. Well, it is dumb. It is dumb, and they have no stake in winning. They just want to make money. And that this whole thing about the new stadium in Arlington Heights and so forth, that isn't going to be built unless somebody else pays for it, and somebody else is me and everyone who lives in Illinois. It's going to be paid through state taxes if that happens. I doubt the Chicago Bears are going to reach into their deep pockets and pay for the new stadium that all Chicago Bears fans deserve. Not only do we deserve a new stadium in this town, but we deserve free seats too after putting up with the fucking bullshit we've been seeing. Hey, Dan and I, when we were outside waiting outside of Progressive Field, not Progressive Field. What's the name of the baseball stadium? Yeah, it is Progressive.
Yeah, that's Progressives.
Right.
That one.
Right. We were waiting to be let into Progressive Field, and we see a gentleman wearing a mask, and he's 6'3", gray hair, and god damn it, it had to be George McCaskey.
Guy clean cut, nice suit, Bears shit on, like his mask is Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked over because you were telling me something, and I was like, hey, just 1 second. Is this George McCaskey?
Mm-hmm.
Like you looked and you were like, it is.
Yeah,
it truly was. But he was talking to another guy, so he didn't really acknowledge us.
No,
they were walking really quickly.
He was with a woman, wasn't he?
Oh, was it a woman?
Yeah,
maybe you're right.
It was a
but
woman.
he was talking to somebody else and was walking really quickly.
Yeah. So I wish I would have spotted him a little further in the distance and then realized, yeah, that's George McCaskey, because I would have said, hey, Mr. McCaskey, can we please talk? Can I walk with you and talk if you're in a hurry? Because he was walking kind of briskly. And I would have said, tomorrow your team is going to be embarrassed by the head coach. Please tell me you'll consider firing him on Monday. I wish I could have said something like that. That would have been cool. Your team is going to get Justin Fields, your prize rookie, is going to get sacked 9 times tomorrow, and it's going to be all of your coach's fault. And if your general manager doesn't realize that and fire him, then you should fire both of them. And Dan Aguire over there, he has every fucking Bears quarterback jersey, including Justin Fields.
Well, not the Navy one, not anymore. I'm waiting on them to ship it back.
You want to get back to that story again?
No, I really am worried about it, but I do think that was McCaskey. Like, it looked just like him.
It had to be. It had to be. I've seen this guy a number of times. I used to work at WBBM TV, and he was a news writer there, so I would run into him all. It had to be him. I'm positive it was him, and I just wish we would have had the opportunity to talk to him and let him know how disappointed we are and to express to him how important it is to us. You know, there's 100 people on YouTube watching us live now. There's another 400 or 500 watching on Twitter. I don't know how many on Facebook. I'm not going to look into those numbers. But by the time this episode is done and has 24 hours worth of age on it, there's going to be thousands of people who have watched this. And the reason that they're watching and listening to this is because they fucking care about this team. They care about it like it's family. They care about it like it's a loving pet. They care about it like it's a prized possession. They fucking care about this. And when they lose, it bothers us for days. And when they lose like the way they did against the Cleveland Browns, it doesn't just bother us. It makes us sad. It makes us depressed. It makes us want to punch somebody in the fucking face.
Yeah, I agree. I said this to you on Sunday. I think we were at that Morton's Steakhouse when I said it. Morton's the Steakhouse.
Oh man, that was good food.
I feel like I don't have enough class to be in this fucking joint. I mean, I didn't even want my elbow to hit the table. I was afraid they'd be like, "Get out of this! Get out of here, you motherfucker! You're a fraud!" It'd be have Phil saying it. "You're a fraud," and kick me out. But yeah, man, like Brandy ordered a baked potato and a steak, and it was $86. It was like, God damn! Like, where am I at? Like, this is like where Richard Nixon ate once or something. You know, like Obama's been here. Like, why am I in here? But
quick story about that. Hold that thought that you got right now. So we're at Morton's Steakhouse, which people in Chicago should be very familiar with it. Dan wanted to go in there because he's heard the commercials when he's listened to Chicago radio. I mean, it's a famous steakhouse. And so they've got a location in Cleveland. And so, you know, we go in there and I tell Dan, you know, it's expensive. So you sure you want to go here? He goes, oh, I've heard about this in the commercials. I want to eat here. And it, of course, is delicious. The fucking server, he was so gracious.
He had so much charisma too.
He really fucking did. I wish he was our head coach. We told him, would you please be our head coach? Because he had so much charisma. And so Dan, God bless his heart, he wants to make sure, because the service was impeccable, the food was great and so forth. Dan wants to make sure he gives him 20%. Right. So he takes out his cash and he starts counting it. He asks Brandy, what's 20% of the bill and blah, blah, blah. And she figures it out for him. And so he comes over to he being a Bob, and Dan would refer to him as not by his name, Bob, but also Bob and sir. So he would say, Bob, sir. And so Dan says, Bob, sir, I want to make sure that I don't cheat you out of your 20%. So can you count this? And Bob is like, no, that's fine. And you insisted that he count the 20%. That was so charming of you. And so appreciative was Bob. It was a great moment. Cheered me up after that fucking debacle in Cleveland that we watched, but that cheering up didn't last long and then we did the Bear football show afterwards. And as we were doing that show with Tyler, John Buffone, Dan was the guest, and I'm a regular on that show, I started to feel fucking depressed. I started to feel really sad. And I know,
is that why you went and got a drink?
Yes, exactly. I went after the show was done. Brandy and I went down and I had a brandy and she had a special sweet cocktail, and we had a couple of drinks and had a nice talk. I got to know him better. It was a lot of fun. But I really did feel sad, and I know Chubbs is in the chat room saying you really need to get your testosterone checked too. But it just, Chubbs, it means so much to me, and so
I agree.
And so it's not just losing. Listen, if they would have lost a heartbreaker, 35-34 or 20-19 and so forth, I would have been sad. But not the kind of sadness that I feel now. This is like watching your kid strike out in Little League and he's got his head down and so forth. It's that kind of sadness. We're the laughing stock of the national sports media. You know, it's just not a good fucking feeling, man.
I agree with you. And what I said to you in Morton's was, and I meant this, and I feel like so far I've been able to adhere to it. I was like, man, I don't want this to just ruin my entire week. When the Bears lose like this terribly, it brings me down the whole week. Like literally, it ruins my whole fucking week. Like all week long, it just seems like it's cloudy. You know, I'm late every day. I'm oversleep. Something. It just makes me. I don't want to give them that power anymore. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but I'm going to do everything in my power to somehow just try to sound more like Tyler, a Gaines report, and try to sound more upbeat or more positive, appreciate things I do have, and, I could be sick. I could be going through cancer. I could, all these terrible hypotheticals could happen. I mean, and so I'm not sick, just enjoy like the fact that you're okay. You don't have COVID. Some people are dying from this shit, whatever. Just be happy that you have your health and you're able to drive to the fucking game and you're going to the next game, and appreciate that and not just let this ruin everything. Because I do get in the same funk that you're talking about where it just feels like the world isn't a good place, when the Bears we invest so much in them, which is why I was telling you, like, the fucking hoodie and the jersey mean so much to me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's something like gang members, they have their colors. These are my colors. This is my stuff, I mean,
I was in a Chicago gang and we had our colors too. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a poor analogy, but
it's a perfect one, really is.
But you know how some people were in fraternities or something and they're so proud of that their whole lives, even if it was 50 years ago. That's who I am as a Bears fan. Like, and I hate the fact that our Super Bowl is almost 50 years ago now. But yeah, this is who I am. It's like it's defined me. My whole life has just been a Bears fan, and everyone that knows me knows that about me. And I'm sure there's like probably hundreds. I wouldn't say hundreds. That's an exaggeration, but probably at least 50 people that are either happy, really happy that the Bears were blown out when we were there just to say, fuck you, Dan, or they're really sad for me because they know how much it means to me. I'm sure there are a couple of people that you and I both know that are happy that we went to the game and they lost just to say, fuck you to us.
Yes. But I got to tell you one thing about the Cleveland fans. For the most part, like 99% of them were super polite people. I mean, you were sitting next to two guys who were really great. These are guys I would love to be friends with, even though they are Browns fans. To my left was an elderly couple. I would say they were in their late 60s. And they were sweet.
They looked way older than you, for real. No.
Maybe
if you said you were 63, I told you could pass for your 40s, and that I wasn't just bullshitting you. Those two, if you're in your 60s, they're probably closer to 80.
Maybe, yeah.
Late 70s. They were old.
There, yeah.
They looked old.
Yeah, they were up there. So, and they were so polite. They were effing polite. And the funniest thing about that whole, every time that I talked to them, was at one point the elderly lady leans over to me and she says, "What is the name of your punter?" And I go, "O'Donnell, Pat O'Donnell." And she goes, "He's really good."
That's all we had to show for on Sunday was how good the punter is.
Exactly. And
other than Quinn and Mac, we got to give them credit too.
And then her husband says, "Yeah, well, he's been getting enough work." Exactly. The highlight of our trip inside the Cleveland Browns stadium was the lady saying, "Who is your punter? He's really good."
Or the other guy saying Nagy's the problem.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
not knowing that we thought or agreed that with him on that at all. He just said that on his own.
Yep. Swanky, who was at the game, and I apologize, Swanky, we didn't meet up. After the game, he says, if you wanted a fight, you could get one. I saw a Bears fan with blood in the back of his head. Wow. We missed the fights, although I'll tell you one thing. I went into the washroom, and, in the washroom, you're going to meet up with guys who have been drinking a lot. They're getting rid of the beer and stuff. And so there was a couple of Browns fans there that says, "Where are the fucking Bears fans now? Where are the fucking Bears fans now?" And then behind me is this big Bears fan. He's a big Bears fan. And he goes, "I'm right fucking here and I ain't going nowhere." I stopped pissing in the middle of my piss and just put my dick back in and walked out.
Yeah, I don't want any of that shit. I'm not going to jail for anybody over that shit. Fuck, I'm too old to be fighting anyway.
Me too, man.
I was surprised. Like the one that got me the most, like the gay thing. Okay, whatever, fine. We lost. Go ahead and call us gay. That's fine. But the one that like surprised me was when we were walking out with the mass of people. It's like 20,000 people were going out at the same time. It's like we were zombies in a horror movie, all going to eat brains or something, and we're walking and this mass of people, and someone said something to us ahead of us. There was two kids that were Browns fans, and the one guy was like, parents, don't let your fucking kids like grow up to be Bears fans.
Yeah.
And the son thought that he said Browns, and he's like, no. He's like, there's nothing wrong with being a Browns fan. And someone told him he said Bears fan. He goes, oh, okay. But then the next guy says to us, something disparaging. And my response to him was, God, I expected more empathy from the Browns fans. I was like, for real, like you all had a winless season and went a generation without winning a playoff game. Like, yeah, you won today, but come on, man, act like you've been there before.
Yep. So true. I mean, that was a great line that you said about that. Their history of losing is so horrible. And so for them to be making fucking jokes about
how horrible we are when they were 0-16 not too long ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they've got a team that could potentially make the Super Bowl, but something is going to go wrong with the Cleveland Browns. Let me see. At the 129 mark, I am saying this on this show, they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl. There's going to be another Ernest Biner moment. There's going to be another Sipe interception, a Kozar mistake. There's going to be something that's going to stop this team from getting into the Super Bowl. They're going to make the playoffs. That team has got a roster, man. They have got a fucking loaded roster. And the fact that fucking Matt Nagy didn't game plan for those two edge rushers.
Both number one picks in drafts, no less.
Yes. I mean, when they got Clowney, I said, oh, they got Myles Garrett already. That shouldn't be fair. How the fuck can they afford two super edge rushers and already have a solid defensive backs like Denzel Ward? By the way, earlier, about a few minutes ago, I forgot who it was, said, I can't believe Dan was drinking out of a Cleveland Browns cup.
Well, we're at the Browns stadium.
I know, it's a joke, man.
I mean, it's not. No, I will say that the baseball game, they gave us a free Indians hat, which I did not wear.
I wore the hat. Okay, so this is stupid, and I know people are going to get pissed off at me. How could you do that? So, I got in first before Dan, and so I went to some shops and I bought myself a Cleveland T-shirt. It just says the name of the city on it. Well, at the White Sox game, were giving away Cleveland Indians baseball hats.
Because they got to get rid of them for the Galaxies or whatever they're going to be.
The Guardians.
The Guardians,
Right.
whatever.
So on the day that I'm leaving, I put on, I wanted to put on a fresh shirt. So I put on the Cleveland T-shirt that I bought, and I wore the fucking Cleveland Indians hat. So people are like, hey, man, way to go. How about the Browns yesterday? How about Cleveland yesterday? And I'm just, yeah. Fucking, it was like a disguise. I didn't want, it's not that I was ashamed to be a Bears fan, but I didn't want to put up with more fucking turmoil.
Yeah, we were getting a lot of mouth after the game, man. That's true. Like in the stadium, we were around good people, but after the game, I don't know if they were liquored up or what, but we were taking a lot of verbal jabs on the way out of there.
We were. So, and then on the trip back, I stopped somewhere to get food, and somebody sticks their head out the window, go Guardians, go Guardians, and I'm like, what? Oh, and then I realized, I'm wearing a fucking Cleveland T-shirt.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'll say. I've told you before that I like the city of Cleveland, and my previous trips there for concerts, and like everybody around town, even like if it wasn't a Indians or Browns or Cavs shirt, they just had something on that said Cleveland. So everyone has pride for the city there. So that, I mean, and they should, but for some reason nationally, that's the town that everybody mocks. But I think it's a nice town. I do. But some of the people obviously are assholes after the games.
Right.
But I can say if the Bears finally win when I'm there, because now they're 0-4 when I've attended games.
Mm-hmm.
If they win on Sunday, and I'm just going to look like any other person from Chicago when we're leaving, I'm not going to mock any Detroit fans. Like, I'm just not going to. Why would I? Just be happy that you win.
Yeah, right. I will say, I got to say this quick story about when I arrived. First of all, I'm not going to badmouth the hotel that we are staying at unless if they fucking don't send you your stuff and you don't get it by Friday because you paid for 2-day delivery. So if it went out today, or they said it was going out,
it's not going out till tomorrow.
All right. So that's 2-day delivery. So you should get it on Friday. If you don't get it Friday, then on the next show, I'm going to talk about the hotel, the name, the general manager. I'm going to give it all out and bitch like crazy, because I had a bad experience when I checked in. So I drive in on Friday night. The town is fucking going crazy, man. There are people all over downtown. There's a game going on. The Indians are playing, and there's this big fucking country concert going on in the arena where the Cavaliers play. Lots of fucking people all over. I'm fucking trying to matriculate through traffic and not fucking run somebody over. I'm tired, 6-hour drive. I'm getting ornery. Haven't had a drink in a while. And so I finally find the right street so that I can get to in front of the hotel with the car on the right side of the street, because when I first found the hotel, I'm going in the opposite direction. So I got to fucking try to make a U-turn, but there's cops everywhere directing traffic. There's people, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting fucking frustrated. So anyway, get the car in front of the hotel, take my bags out, and I'm waiting for the fucking valet guy. And he's not around. He's nowhere fucking around. And I see in the window, the people and the registration desk are looking at me, and there's two guys, and they're talking to one another, and they're looking at me and talking to one another. And I'm thinking about, hey, what's going on? Can you call the valet guy or something like that? Well, that's 5 minutes of me or 10 minutes of me, whatever it was, me waiting outside. And finally the valet guy shows up, and he says, yeah, there's no fucking room for you, dude. What?
Oh my God.
Yeah, because of the concert across the street, we don't have any room. And I go, okay, well, where should I park? He goes, I don't know, man. I don't know where to tell you to park, dude. So, okay, let me take my bags inside, check in, and then I'll go fucking find a place to put my car. So I go in, and the two guys that were staring at me, they have no fucking suggestions as to where I should park my car. No fucking suggestions. You think that if this was a recurring problem, because I learned later that it was, that they would have a little sheet of paper. Here are the 6 or 7 garages near our hotel, and if you have to pay more than our parking service, we will make it up to you. You would think that they would have that as a plan, right? For shit like this. No fucking plan. So I'm asking, well, where should I park my car? We don't know, sir. You might check down the street or something like that, but they're probably full too.
Motherfucker, I'm paying to stay here. You're supposed to have a spot for me.
Yeah, when I booked the fucking room, it said valet parking. There wasn't no asterisk unless there's a country music concert across the fucking street.
$40 a day you're getting billed, by the way.
So anyways, I vented there, and people are probably saying, fucking Aldo, shut up and talk more about football.
No, I don't. How did the story end then? Did they say, okay, we're going to find you a spot? Like, what happened?
So, yeah, so that's the kicker, right? So, first of all, I got to add one more thing. One of those two guys was looking at me like I was a fucking serial killer. He was looking at me like, just staring at me with these big blue eyes. He was a big barrel-chested guy. And so I'm like, why are you, I accused him of trying to turn it into my problem. Why are you turning this into my problem? I'm just simply asking where I should park my car, because the website said that valet parking would be available here. And if it's not, then you should have a plan for me as a customer. And so finally he looks towards the lady that you were talking to on the phone. She's seated in an office. She didn't come out for the 15 fucking minutes I'm talking to Dumble D and Dumble Dork. She finally comes out because he calls her, hey, Liz. Oh, I said her name. can you come out here and deal with this? And then she comes on. She says, oh, we're very sorry, sir. We're very sorry. There should be parking down the street. If you go, and so finally, what she should have done, as soon as she heard me complaining, she finally comes out. This is the same lady who took your bags and stuff. So I go out to go find a fucking parking spot, and that valet guy, he goes, hey, dude, you know what? Are you going to use your car later tonight? And I go, no, I don't plan to. I'm going to find a fucking bar and get drunk. He goes, well, I could probably find you a spot. What the fuck? I just went through all this shit with these people. Did you hear me yelling at them inside? I could probably find you. If you don't need the car, tonight, I could probably find you a spot. So
why didn't you say that 30 minutes ago?
No shit.
Fuck.
So,
God, everything. Yeah, it's like the whole weekend, even little steps in our real life was as complicated as trying to complete a pass in Nagy's offense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Herney777, who always has great comments, says it's called hospitality. The word is hospitality. Yeah, I didn't get any at first. Now, the rest of the stay at the hotel was fine. The rooms I thought were very nice. It was spacious. It's a 3-star hotel, so it's not like it was going to be super elegant or anything. But
it was very, very nice.
Yeah, I was really happy with the size of the rooms. We had a suite in the middle and stuff. It was all good. But it's, service is difficult nowadays, man. I'm telling you, it is fucking difficult. When I went on the drive back home, I stopped at an Oasis to get some food. They got one person behind the counter who would take up 10 orders, line up the 10 orders, and then go prepare those 10 orders. And so it was taking so much fucking time. Just service in America, man. It's become a fucking issue.
Our shit was late coming back too. We got stuck in road work and the GPS took us the wrong way, trying to avoid it, and had us turned around, going the wrong direction. And God, we lost like 2 hours coming home, like in an area where I generally knew the area a little bit, but the GPS was just trying to get us away from road work and just kept putting us in a circle. So yeah, we lost like 2 hours late getting home last night. It was so fucking terrible. But my question to you real quick, let's assume that the stuff comes back just for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, I'm going to watch it, because the way the Browns fans cheated me, do you think A, I'll get my stuff back with cum on it? B, they wipe their ass on it? C, there'll be boogers? D, period blood? Or E, all of the above? Or no, maybe belly button lint. I should throw that one on there too. But there's probably going to be a combination of fecal matter and all that other stuff. I'm going to wash it as soon as they come in, if they come in.
That's funny.
You think they will soil it? I honestly think they will.
I honestly think that they won't, but now that I remember back to that barrel-chested blue-eyed guy that was fucking staring at me like I was a serial killer, I would not be surprised if he ejaculated all over your shit because he thinks it's mine.
Well, either way, I'm going to wash his cum out, and I'm going to wear that jersey again, just not on Sunday, considering how poorly they played while I wore the Fields jersey. I'm going to wear Jim McMahon or Walter Payton or something, I think, next week. Or maybe I'll just wear a shirt, considering every Bears game I've gone to, I've worn a jersey and they've been defeated.
Yeah, but I would like you to wear I got like 2 or 3 Butkus jerseys, and I got one that fits you perfectly. So I would love for you to wear that, and then I will wear my Ditka jersey. Let me see if I can point the camera at the 2 jerseys. I got them up. There's Butkus 51, and there's Ditka 89. So I would love for you to wear the Butkus jersey. I go as Ditka. We go as old school guys, and we get an old school victory. Hey, let's answer some of the questions in the chat room. Kenny Jones would love to hear your take on this. Kenny Jones is asking, do you honestly think that the Bears will allow Matt Nagy to coach the entire season? What do you think, Dan?
My head says yes. My heart says, please God, no. But I think that based upon the history, as we all know, they've never made a change like this. I think I said this with Buffon and Tyler and yourself. I truly believe the only way they'll make a change, maybe they get the same results against the Lions and they're shamed at home, and Virginia says, you know what, I'm 98 years old. Fuck this. This isn't working. I don't have a lot of time left, boys. I want to win. the season maybe isn't over yet. There's like 17 more games or 15 more games to go, or 14 now, but whatever. Let's make a move. Let's try to salvage this shit. I think it has to come from the old lady, and I don't mean that disparagingly. I just mean, the architect, Virginia. I think it's got to come from her to make that move. But maybe they're all just happy turning the profits. I don't know. I do believe George cares, though. I do. I want to believe that.
I truly believe too. But well, now after you read that tweet, I'm not sure so as convinced as I was before. But
I don't know about Michael, because Michael, just seems just like, well, maybe all of them. They just, and I think Buffon said this. I don't mean to keep referencing him, but he said that, they're just so happy to keep pointing out 1985.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they got their Super Bowl, so they really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But for so many of us, I mean, I was only 5 when it happened. So it's almost, again, I can go revisit it like it's, no problem, but it's not the same as watching it as an adult.
Right.
So maybe they are complacent because they had their moment. And for myself or Steve Zimmerman or somebody like that, or Aaron, we didn't have that moment.
Right. Exactly.
So, we want it, man. We're chasing that dream.
Yeah. And I want to talk about those guys that we met Saturday night a little later, but let's get through some more of these questions. PJ asked, what is the best course of action going forward from here on, in your opinion? And so here's my opinion on that. I think Ryan Pace should finally get his balls out there and tell Matt Nagy, Matt, it's clear from what I can see is that you're not doing a good job of calling the plays. Bill Lazor will be calling the plays for the rest of the season. And if you have an argument about that, remember, I'm your boss. I know I only have supposedly 1 year left on my contract and you have 2, but I'm still your boss, and Bill Lazor will be calling the plays. Secondly, I want to know from Bill Lazor how he's going to get the tight end more involved in this offense, because you promised me, Matt Nagy, that we would be running a KC offense. And I see fucking Travis Kelce doing fucking incredible things with, getting 10, 12 targets a game. And our multiple 5 tight ends are getting 5 targets. So I want you to tell me how this is going to work. Third, I know I fucked up with the offensive line. I know that I put you in a bad position because of, we didn't bring in a veteran, whatever. So I need to know now from Juan Castillo how we're going to improve the offensive line. So that's the plan of attack that I would take immediately. Then during the bye week, that's when I make the decision as to whether we're going to cut ties with Matt Nagy and go with an interim coach the rest of the season. What say you, Dan? You got a kind of a plan moving forward on what the Bears should do?
I like what your suggestion is with Pace just saying, man, look, you might not want to give this up, but I'm telling you that you have to. And even if he tries to soften the blow and say, I'm only doing this because I care about you and I don't want you fired, but you're on the road to being terminated, and so am I. So we have to do this to maybe find some kind of momentum to stay here, give them a reason to keep us. Right now, you're killing both of us. So maybe he says, like you said, Bill Lazor is calling the plays. I do like that. And maybe that's what it would take for Matt Nagy to, not be such a fucking dick and be like, oh, you won't know who's calling the plays anyway. Maybe Pace needs to give a fucking press conference and say, I've told Matt that he's relinquished his duties as the offensive coordinator. So I think everyone in Chicago or anywhere in the country, or if you want to reference like George or Sandy Tom across the pond, anywhere in the world that's Bears fans, I think that they would applaud if Nagy was not the play caller.
Right.
I've said if it were me, and again, maybe I'm just the dumb meathead fan, but I was telling you Sunday, fuck it, man. Like Mike Pettin's been a coach before, and what's he doing right now? I would tell Nagy, I'm sorry. I know you were coach of the year. You can use that on your resume. We appreciate your services and we wish you well in your future endeavors. And Mike Pettin is the interim coach for the remainder of this season. And Bill Lazor is the offensive coordinator, and let's go win some games.
I love that approach. Swanky wants to know if this terrible offense leading to the end of Allen Robinson's time in Chicago? What say you, Dan?
How couldn't it be? I heard somebody say the other day that he was, and this was before Sunday, mind you, that they were like 115 other players in the league that had better stats than him this year at wide receiver. I mean, this guy, I don't want to say we should feel sorry for Allen because he's going to make more money than any of us ever can imagine. And even if he continues down this road this year, being stuck in this bullshit offense, somewhere somebody is going to pay him. And it may not be as much as he deserves or could earn if he was in a real offense. But as soon as he's free, and why would you franchise him now? You're not going to.
Right.
So as soon as he's free, he's going to run the fuck away. And why wouldn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love A-Rob. I think he is, he reminds me in so many ways of Marty Booker, who was one of my favorite Bears receivers. And when I say that, I mean in terms of production. Marty had that season where he caught 100 passes.
01 and 02.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. Obviously, you're right. I learned from you about all this stuff. So,
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be.
No, please. I appreciate that. Really do. So I would hate to lose him, and he's still so young, so he's still approaching the prime. But he has to look at the Chicago Bears offense, and just like Foles said on the sideline, this offense doesn't work. And he probably, if he has a good vibe about Justin Fields, and if at the end of the season they fire the head coach and bring in an offensive-minded coach, somebody that Allen feels comfortable with, then I think that it could happen. But I think that the other issue too is that Allen Robinson is asking for more than the market rate that is going for receivers of his caliber, which is low tier 1. And I think that's going to probably prevent him from signing. That is the number one reason, first of all. Ravi has a good one here. A lot of good questions here. Since Vegas has Nagy as the first coach to be fired this season, how much stock do we put on that? And what is our best guess as to when that happens? What do you think, Dan? Do you put any stock at all on what Vegas says in terms of coaches being fired?
Typically, my short answer would be no. And I would just follow up with the national media is not really informed specifically on the runnings and comings and going of the Chicago Bears. And they probably don't know that that's never happened before. But if the media is really putting a firm grip on it and just keeping pressure on the Bears, maybe that's what they need to finally make that decision. So I'll take that as an ally right now.
Yeah,
like I'm rooting for Nagy Sunday, like you said too, but I firmly believe that we're not going to win until he's gone. So if we can pressure him somehow to get the fuck out of here, I think that's best for all of us, truthfully.
I think that Vegas gets more insider information than any media member. I really do believe. Why? Because they pay people off. The national media, national sports media, they generally don't pay people for information. They got to dig, they got to make relationships. They, ask a lot of questions. They get information from all sorts of sources, and they try to get a second source and so forth. Vegas, they fucking call somebody over at Hallis Hall, say, hey, I got a little envelope for you, a bunch of $100 bills. I want to know what they're talking about with Matt Nagy. And I think they set the odds based on that. Now, I don't think that they get any definitive information, but they get to hear what people are whispering about, what's the mood at Hallis Hall, and so forth. And so if the odds are that Nagy will be the first coach fired, then I think that probably there's some credence to that thinking. Now, but when it happens, it could be, after the season is over. There may not be any coaches fired during the course of the season. So I do put a sliver of credence to what Vegas says with their odds. But, I all in all, I think Nagy's probably going to last a year unless we get something historic here in Chicago.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm just telling you what I hope.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think the best case scenario, they're going to let him coach through the year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to cite, well, he overcame a 6-game losing streak last year. And that's what he does best. He keeps the team together during adversity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he's earned this chance. Oh, by the way, he was coach of the year in 2018. So I think all that combined, they're going to just, plus they don't want to pay him and not coach and pay somebody else. So I think that they will keep him through the end of the season. I mean, I hope not, but I think that's what will happen.
Herney 777, and this is not a political question, Dan. This is about the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
Any ideas for a president? It has to be someone who can run a business too. It's not an easy question. Have you thought about this? Any ideas on who should replace Ted Phillips?
No, negative. It's way above my pay grade, way above my head at this point. And I've never been one of the people that yelled about Sweaty Teddy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he is part of the problem because he has been there so long. But in theory, if you just say he's George's guy and he's not going anywhere, he's like, Robert Duvall to Al Pacino or to Marlon Brando, the consigliere. Okay, fine, whatever. I do think that regardless, we got to get rid of Nagy, and we probably can't get rid of Nagy unless we get rid of Pace too.
Mm-hmm.
And Pace probably deserves to get the axe as well because he's the one that fucking hired Nagy. That was his pick. He's the one that drafted Mitch and then let him go. He's the one that drafted Fields and is letting this guy, ruin Fields' confidence right now and getting him killed. Yeah. So maybe he deserves to go. Trading up for a tackle that had a back injury and then, oh, by the way, has another back injury.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one name that immediately comes up as a replacement for Ryan Pace as a team president, it actually came from Doug Plank when he was on the old 100 Proof show. He suggested Gary Fensick, who is a very prominent lawyer, a Yale graduate, very
well-spoken,
very, very smart. He could handle the business parts of it. And, a lot of the business part is also part of delegating stuff to other people who have specialties in accounting and blah, blah, blah. But Gary Fensick could probably be a good person. And part of what Doug Plank said that I thought was really special, we should try to book him for this show, is that he said, this is the one organization in the NFL, or one of very few, that don't delve into the former players for jobs in the organization, and he rattled off names of people who should be on the coaching staff, should be in the front office, names like Singletary, other names. And that is true. I mean, why not give an opportunity to these guys who bleed Chicago Bear blue?
Which is what Al Davis did for so many years when he was running well in Oakland.
You got that absolutely right. I'm not saying that just because they wore Chicago Bears colors and are very passionate about the team, I'm not saying that they're necessarily right for the job. You got to do the interview, you got to go through the process and so forth. But I got to believe that there are a lot of qualified former Bears who could step in and do almost any job in the organization.
Poor Singletary gets so much fucking shit because of his run in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, who cares about the Bears more than Mike Singletary? I mean, Donald Ditka said that when he got inducted in, and it's not a dick measuring contest, but even, I'm not saying to hire Singletary as a coach, but like you said, just give him a salary and a job somewhere in the organization. That guy is gonna be a soldier like some guy in the mafia because he cares about that fucking jersey, man. Mike Singletary, to your point, Mike Singletary cares the same way. It's why Oakland hired Willie Brown and Fred Biletnikoff and all these legends in prominent positions.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Bear Truth 9 asked a question. This might have been a while ago because we kind of addressed it. It says, Aldo, if you're Pace, you think it's smart for him to fire Nagy now? What do you do? When's a smart time to let him go? Here's my thought on that overall is if there's another performance against Detroit where you're putting your quarterback, I don't care if it's Justin Fields, Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, or that guy who played wide receiver for the Broncos and then went into that game because of COVID last year.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. You cannot game plan where you a game where you're going to expose your quarterback, even if Matt Nagy hates him, like he probably hates Nick Foles for talking back to him. You got to protect your quarterback, and if it's especially Justin Fields, the franchise, if he comes up with another game plan like that, then you fire him before he heads out to the media after the game. You grab him by the collar and say, hey, get your shit and get the fuck out of here. Now, that's probably not going to happen. I think he's smart enough to have a lot more max protects, chipping of Lions defensive edge rushers, and getting things a little better. But if the team continues to play at a 500 below 500 level, I would seriously look at making a move at the bye. And a lot also depends on the temperament of the players. If you're losing the players and they start going out there and giving lackadaisical effort, Dan and I have talked before about how the players always played for Dave Wanstead, always. And if the players now don't play for Matt Nagy because they've given up, because they just know that he's an incompetent fool and are saying, well, why the fuck should I fucking play a 17-game regular season for this idiot? If that happens, then you got to get rid of him. You got to fucking find some leadership to turn this sinking ship around.
I agree with you. And two things we should acknowledge before we run out of time is that Foles allegedly on the sidelines, it's hard to read lips, for me, but some people have said that transcribed his lip reading as this offense is not working on the sideline Sunday. Of course, we didn't see that on the TV copies. We're at the game.
Right.
But I've seen it in slow motion. It kind of looks like that's what he says, but I'm no expert in that field or not even qualified to read lips. And another thing is that I don't have the exact tweet from me. We talked about it on Sunday, is that Jimmy Graham basically came out and took a jab at Nagy on his Twitter feed with some statistics about how shitty the offense was. So, I mean, maybe that's another angle to all of this, is that we need the players to almost be done with him too. It's like, the 85 team, it's got so much. The part of the story is that they wrote after the 81 season, we have to keep Buddy. And Hallis was moved by that. Well, maybe the players today need to write a letter and say, this guy's a fucking idiot. He's holding us back.
Yeah. It is funny that you're mentioning that, because we talked about that on a previous show, the Bear Debate, and John Buffon said, yeah, no, none of those players are going to write a letter. They'll tweet it out, which is true.
Well, okay.
It's a totally different day. But that was, that whole Jimmy Graham thing was a sign that there's a growing mutiny. That's what I think. I mean, why wouldn't it? So Laz says, I hear Aldo was all over Dan's girl like Garrett was on Fields.
Aldo, she's not my girl, and if you were all over her, then have at it. She's my friend, man. And if you all were having fun together, then that's fine, man.
4,000 Clover says, Aldo, where were you for the 85 Bears Super Bowl? I think I said this story recently. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, you told me in one of those stadiums we were at. I don't know if it was Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, I'll say it very quickly. I was with a bunch of friends. Typically, I like to watch games alone or with one or two people who I trust, that are going to be focused on the game and not asking me questions like, hey, what are you going to do next Saturday, man? We'll do some party. No, I want to fucking watch the game. So I made an exception for the Super Bowl because it was a Super Bowl, right? So I got together with a whole bunch of my friends, got crowded into an apartment and watched it with them. And that was a special moment, sharing that with friends who I had known since I was a wee little guy. In 85, I was how old in 85? Yeah.
You're like 26, right?
Yeah, I think I was. Jesus Christ. I'm fucking
Well,
old.
here's the question for you. Then where were you during Super Bowl 41?
That one, I was at home by myself, and I was happy to be at home. I got to tell you, going into that Super Bowl, I had no belief that we were going to win the game.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. And I felt,
how did you feel when Hester returned the kick? Did you think, oh, okay, we're going to do this?
I said, I'm a fucking idiot. The Bears are going to win this game. God damn it, we're going to fucking win this game. That was one of the greatest moments of my 50-some years of following the Chicago Bears. When Hester ran that kick, man, it was so.
I kept saying, are there any flags? Any flags?
Yeah, I didn't say that. I just was so. It was like the moment when Michael Jordan did the shrug. It was
against Portland.
Against Portland. It was the moment Walter Payton ran for 275 yards against the Vikings, and I knew that I was fucking witnessing history on television. It was all of these great moments, and it was that moment with Devin Hester, and it was like, wow. And I was thinking to myself, I'm fucking wrong. We're gonna fucking beat the shit out of these guys. And it wasn't to be.
What about the one more? Where were you? Because I know the Cubs were in the playoffs against San Diego. Where were you when Walter broke Jim Brown?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's in October of '84.
Yeah. I don't even think that game was televised because I was listening on the radio.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
it wasn't advertised or wasn't televised.
I think it was blacked out. If anybody, I know there's some old timers just like me in the chat. If you can confirm this, I'll ask Mike North too. I believe that game was blacked out, and I heard it on the radio in my apartment. If I'm wrong about that, then I don't remember where I saw it. Yeah, that was weird. And it was poor Walter, it seemed like almost every time he had a big moment in his career, it was blemished somehow,
He had to share it with somebody else.
Yeah. Had to share it with somebody else, not getting his touchdown play called for in the Super Bowl and stuff. There was always like these little, they're one of the greatest athletes, not of just Chicago sports, but of any sport in North America, just one of the greatest. And it just seemed like things just, he's a fucking playing for Chicago. So it's not going to be perfect like it is for other athletes or other superstars. The only guy that's had it somewhat perfect in Chicago sports is Michael Jordan. 6 championships. He, becomes a global superstar, beloved by everybody except Dan Aguire.
Respected by Dan Aguire for sure.
You want to tell people?
And I rooted for him, and I definitely rooted for him against the Lakers. I rooted for him against Portland. If I had to go back again, I'd root for Portland, honestly. I rooted for him against Phoenix. I didn't care about Seattle. But the 72 win team, I just started hating them at that point. I liked them the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't like Seattle, so I just didn't care about that series at all. But I hated Utah vehemently, so I rooted for them both times against Utah. So yeah, and the Seattle one, I just didn't care. So overwhelmingly, I rooted for Jordan in the finals.
But your issue, and we've talked about this on the show before, but just for many of our new listeners, your issue with Jordan is you don't like the way he treated Isaiah Thomas.
Well, not just that. There are a lot of things about Jordan I didn't like. But they're personally about him, like about his personality. Not like personally, like I know him. But things like that is what I guess you could say I didn't like. But yeah, I think it's a shame that Isaiah kind of just is an afterthought right now. Mm-hmm. Just because, and I don't like the Dream Team stuff. Yeah, I didn't like that at all. And like he owns up to it, but then he doesn't own up to it. And it's like everybody knows, man. Like, quit bullshitting. But I do think Isaiah deserves a lot of credit for being a great basketball player. Jordan's better, but Isaiah made Jordan better, though. Making him, like you said before, like working out and making him hit the weights and just being a stronger player. All those things that helped him grow over it taught him tenacity to overcome like this team that's beating you up.
Hey, guess who popped in?
If you're going to say Shane Marsaw, I'm going to be like, wow.
No,
he loves the Chicago Bulls.
I am going to say Johnny Santucci. Look at that wallpaper you've got going on there. Bears Chicago Bears wallpaper. Oh, it's a green screen.
Aldo, don't give away all my secrets. I'm good. How are you fellas doing?
Good. I saw you in the chat room, and I said, okay, John's got to come on and give us your take on what's going on with the fucking Chicago Bears.
Hey, before John jumps in, let me
Yes.
ask you something.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you're coming to the game Sunday?
I will not be at the game. I will be in town, though. I'm hoping to see both of you.
Oh,
good.
Saturday night would be great. I got to go back and get my condo ready for sale. I still own property in Illinois, even though I live in Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What is your time of being there? I think I'm hoping that we'll be there somewhere around like 6, 7-ish Central Time.
Perfect, because electricity was turned off in my condo, so I can only work during the daytime.
Oh, gosh.
I'll be ready for hitting up Morton's in Schaumburg.
Nice.
I don't know about Morton's.
Well,
I don't get paid again until after the trip.
I will set something up and let everybody in social media know, because we've had already like almost a half dozen requests. Is there going to be a Meet Dan event when he's in town this weekend? So I will set it up for.
But that was canceled. I get them all to myself.
I love it. I would set something up for like Saturday at 8 p.m. It'll probably be in the north suburbs, or close to the airport. That might make it more convenient for people. So I'll set that up, and I'll make sure to let people know on social media, and we'll advertise the shit out of it. So I'll set that
So
up.
hypothetically, Aldo, is the goal. Just forget where it is, but like hypothetically, is it going to be like a restaurant kind of deal, like a Buffalo Wild Wings sort of
exactly,
setting where we're watching sports and talking and stuff like that?
You got it.
All right, sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
I am staying by the mall, although as I usually do over there. There's a couple sports bars, big ones.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So actually, Tooch, let's let you and I talk offline, and maybe you can give me a couple suggestions to check out.
Right.
And maybe I can square away a space for us. So, yeah, that's great. Anything you want to ask Mr. Santucci, Dan, before I quiz him on the Bears?
Well, he has been a detractor for a long time of Matt Nagy, and to be fair to Tooch, he was saying that in 2019, like when everyone else, myself included, was probably happy with him, saying, well, he's the reigning defending coach of the year. So I want to give him his props on that. He's been saying Nagy was an idiot since 2019.
Yeah.
So my question for you, Tooch, is I'm assuming that you kind of felt like we did after Sunday, thinking like, if you had it your way, dude's gone after Cleveland, right?
Oh yeah, I wanted him gone after 2 years, but that sadly the wheels move a lot slower at Hallis Hall than the fans would like. The fans being correct more often than Hallis Hall, though. If truth be told, over the years. But yeah, I don't think they've ever fired a coach during a season. So it's interesting to see how far the bottom is for me. I'm way past where you guys are now. I've gone through those stages, where it's, I forget what are all the stages of grieving.
Yeah.
I've gone through all of them. And
anger, denial, sadness. Yeah, I've gone through most of them too.
Yeah, I went through them 2 years ago, but the thing about Nagy is that some people can spot a phony faster than others. It's not because I watch a lot of film on football or watch a lot of games or know the game like, other folks do, professionals who, break down tape and stuff like that. But to me, it was the fake laugh. I was like, yeah, are you ready to be a Bear? During draft day and stuff. It just sounds so phony. I don't know if you guys got that. That's the sense I got, Now I'm looking around. I think I forget who tweeted it out, but it was reading Nick Foles' lips talking to Andy Dalton on the sideline. This offense isn't working. Nick probably was saying the same thing last year too.
Yes.
I'm sure it was.
I think he, in essence, was saying that to Matt, to the coach himself. Remember that one time on national television where they caught him on the sideline having an animated discussion with Nagy, and we learned after the game was there are certain things I do better than other things that he wants me to do, is essentially what he said. And so, I think the secret is out. The secret that the national media suspected, but the players have now saying it through their tweets by being caught, with the lip reading and sidelines and so forth, is there's no faith at all, no confidence at all in Matt Nagy, in his play calling and in the scheme.
So Nick's way past, Andy Dalton was covering his mouth with the towel. He's new. Nick Foles, he's been there, so he doesn't give a shit anymore. He's gonna say it out loud, no hiding. Andy Dalton's like, I could still start this team, maybe lead us to the playoffs at 8 and 9. Like I was saying, the Bears are one of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, as long as Matt Nagy's calling plays, I'm not even sure the locker room believes in Matt Nagy anymore. That's what I'm saying. It's interesting to see how far the bottom is, but there's good news, Aldo. I mean, folks, we can make a lot of money betting against Matt Nagy. I sure have. Last week I was like,
that is very true.
The under, against the Cleveland Browns, 2 pass rushers. They could really rush the passer. We saw that on. You guys were there seeing it live. But to not have a tight end stay in to chip any of those guys, I think Myles Garrett said the reason he didn't have any sacks against the Texans was that they chipped him more often. They chipped him with the tight end more than any other team ever chipped him.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt Nagy didn't watch the Texans-Browns game. I don't think, he didn't watch that tape. But if he
who
did,
in the right mind would think that Peters, at his age and at his conditioning, could go one-on-one against Myles Garrett?
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
That's Matt Nagy. He doesn't make a lot of sense, but Matt Nagy, he's good for 3.5 points, Aldo. So
that's right.
Want to take the under. I'm fading the Bears the rest of the season, but they're going to have if they don't beat the Lions, they're going to have a hard time. First 10 games they might be 1-9. Because after the Lions, the schedule doesn't get much easier. Vikings are playing well.
Right.
I
love what the factor says here. Is most Bears fans are down. LOL. Tooch is smiling because he made money.
money helps make people feel better.
You got to help Darren put the gambling app on his phone so he can start making some money.
Never gonna happen. I'm not
West Virginia
playing
legal there.
Bears in fantasy. Legal. That's why I don't play fantasy, and I'm not going to gamble against the Bears. Not happening.
So Hugh Heaven
I'm not gambling on the Bears either. But
that's how you can make money, though.
Pace fell for the con man and Nagy. Although I've said this before, you and I have talked, but I'm not so sure Pace hired Nagy for the sole reason that their wives got along. I think he said that in an interview. Our wives got along great at the interview. I'm glad Ryan's Pace's wife has a friend now, but that doesn't help us win football games.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in the profession of football, coaches who know each other, the fraternity, but also, she likes her and blah, blah, blah. Let's make this happen. Hey, I got a question for Dan, and then John, I'd like you to jump in. I want to start with Dan first because he's so good at the history of the Chicago Bears.
He's the best.
Shouldn't Justin Fields do what Jim McMahon did, which is basically say to Mike Ditka, fuck you, I'm going to change the plays, I'm going to do what's necessary for us to score points? Shouldn't Justin Fields take a little bit more of a risk of alienating his head coach, since his head coach doesn't know what the fuck he's doing?
God, if I give you what I really think, I don't want to piss off anybody in the chat room. My honest answer to that is it's more complicated for Fields to do that because he's black. And I'm not trying to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but there's a stereotype on black men when they're called angry and stuff. And then they're called malcontent. And that's easier for a white player to overcome. That's easier for Jay Cutler. It was difficult for Cutler too, but Aaron Rodgers can certainly overcome that. And McMahon could overcome that he was difficult to coach at times. But if you get labeled that as a rookie and you happen to be a black man, I mean, that shit kind of follows you around. They're like, oh, he's got an anger problem and he's not coachable, and then suddenly it's like Cam Newton, he's out of the league now. So I think it's more difficult for Fields to do that. I honestly do. And if I alienate anybody by saying that, I do apologize, but I'm not lying to you. I'm not saying that for political gain or to look smart, or that's my honest opinion. But if you get that aside, you knock that out of the way and say that's not relevant, then I would love for Fields to be more assertive and to say, Coach, I think I can do this well, and we're not doing this at all. Let's please utilize the things that I'm good at. I would love for him to have that conversation. And if you remember during the game, he was heated. At one point, Fields just walked away from him. We saw it. But he did come right back to him like 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, whatever it was. It was shortly after. But Nagy was trying to talk to him at one point in one of the bad possessions. They were all bad, I guess. He came off the field and he walked away from him. It made me think of Cutler when he basically told Mike Tice that he was a fool, and just walked away from him. But anyway, I hope I didn't give you an answer that made you think, oh, fuck.
No, not me. I'd love to get Tucci's take on the question that I asked.
Well, Fields, he's new. He's learning. This is his first year in an NFL. If he were to, take on his head coach, he's going to end up with the target on his back that Nick Foles is currently wearing. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure Nagy said in his presser, Nick Foles might be the starter. There's not a chance in hell Nick Foles is starting this game unless those two are too injured to play. Dalton's knee and
I kind of disagree.
Fields' hand.
I think that if he plays Foles, then he can be like, well, we still have this kid that I'm coaching up. It kind of gives him more time by not playing Fields. Whereas if Fields plays and struggles again, people immediately want to come after Nagy. I feel like it kind of softens the blow. It gives him a scapegoat if Foles plays and he sucks.
Well, there's a lot of sense to what you're saying. A lot of the tape that Aldo played earlier in the show, said that Nagy was sabotaging Fields. I'm not sure that that's the truth. I just think Nagy's a horseshit play caller. He sucks. I mean, the way you beat the blitz is quick, 3-step drop and hit the quick slant, or keep the tight end in, two tight ends in the block on a passing play. Let Mooney and Allen Robinson beat their man. That's it.
Hit Montgomery with the fucking screen when
run the screen, draw the pass rush in and dump off the screen pass of Montgomery, who's more than capable out of the backfield. But I never thought. I mean, when Nagy was hired, we were sold a bill of goods that said this guy's an offensive genius. Matt Nagy makes me long for Dowell Loggins and John Shoup. I tell you, Gary Croton, I'll take.
Stop.
He's that bad.
I would take Ron Turner back. Ron
Turner could call some plays.
Yeah. Ron Turner would be great. I would love to see Ron Turner.
Here's what would happen if Nick Foles were starting. He would just audible out of every fucking call Matt Nagy made, and then, that would make Matt Nagy look like a genius. All these plays are working, man. But Nick Foles knows, how to read a defense. Justin Fields is still learning how to read an NFL defense.
Mm-hmm. Factor asked a question. Why don't you start with a response on this one? What do you guys want to see out of Justin Fields on Sunday? Tuch, why don't you start?
Time to throw the ball. He plays that work to his strength.
That would be nice.
Plays that are tailor made to the things he does. Get him rolling out, move the pocket. Some short slants that he build up, hit some completions and build his confidence. Mm-hmm. And then tell him, if it's breaking down, take off and run. That's what he's a good scrambler. I mean, and slide before you get tackled.
Yep, exactly. Dan, what do you think? What would you like to see out of
Same
Fields?
thing. I don't want to see him get hurt. I know they said he kind of damaged his hand a little bit, but it wasn't like tragically hurt or anything. So we got lucky there because, again, other than Jay's game against the Giants in 2010, no one's been sacked like this in a Bears uniform in one game. So I don't want to see him hurt above all. But secondly, I want to keep him healthy. But secondly, kind of plays to what Tuch was saying, like, God, get the guy a chance. Get him in some rhythm. Give him a chance to get his confidence up and think, okay, I can do this. It kind of haunts me now thinking about how sort of easy he thought it was after that first preseason game. He didn't know what he was talking about when he said that they really weren't playing. It didn't seem that fast to me. Oh boy. But the last 6 quarters, it's not looked good for him. So I want to give him an opportunity to show who he is, because I still believe in the kid, and I hope that the Bears fan base still believes that he's the right guy. It may not be with this coaching staff, but I would like to see a glimpse of that. And above all, keep him healthy.
Let me answer that question also by answering the Bear Truths 9 question. He says, Aldo, does Bill Lazor play a part to this offense play calling this weekend? So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see Matt Nagy. I think he talks to the media tomorrow on Wednesday. I would like to see, he says he'll say, he should say, we've all met as a team, like I told you we would on Monday, and we were all very candid with one another. And everybody was candid towards me. And so we've made several decisions, some of which I can share with you now. One is Bill Lazor will be calling the plays again, and will be calling the plays for the rest of the season. Then, as part 2 of that, on Thursday, I want Bill Lazor to come out and say, what we have done is we sat down with Justin Fields and also a few select players from the offense, meaning A-Rob, Darnell Mooney, a couple of tight ends and so forth. And we asked them, what are some of the things that you would like us to call on Sunday against the Lions? Let's look at some of the Lions tape, and you can see where some of their weaknesses are on the defense. What do you think we could do to best expose those defensive weaknesses? Justin, let's talk to Justin. Let's talk to A-Rob. Let's talk to Montgomery and so forth, and develop a game plan that everybody on the major players on this offense feel like they have ownership of it. They go out there and execute the game plan they came up with. Matt Nagy, go clean the fucking garbage. Go clean that shit stain that you left from last week in your office. Stay out of this, Matt Nagy. So, but I'm being serious in that there has to be a radical way of thinking at Hallis Hall in terms of how they start scheming, because to me it looks like if that was really all just Matt Nagy who came up with that plan against Cleveland, he should be arrested, like Dan Hampton said. It was criminal.
It was brutal, man. All that stuff you're saying, Aldo, makes too much sense. But, Matt Nagy, if he was smart, he would give up play calling duties and focus on managing the game, because a lot of time he's got his head stuck in that playbook or that play sheet, the laminated card, and he's not paying attention to things that need to happen in the game, whether it's clock management or game management or making sure the right personnel is on the field for whatever package, either offensively or defensively. Mm-hmm. And if Bill Lazor were to take over play calling duties, I'd have to think twice about betting on the Lions next week.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm really looking to fade Matt Nagy the rest of the season.
Well, I hate to say this to you. I hope you lose your fucking money, man.
I haven't. I mean, the Rams game was the easiest bet I ever made in my life. Last week against the Browns, probably the under 43 points or 44 points, whatever it was probably the second easiest. Well, I've been fading rookie quarterbacks all season, and the under, Mac Jones and Zach Wilson and all those guys, they just can't put any points up. They're just too green. So next week, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really studied the Lions enough to cap the game yet, but it might be a game I stay away from right now. It's in Soldier Field. Matt Nagy, this is one team he can beat, historically. And he doesn't have Mitch Trubisky to do it anymore, but he can beat the Lions.
I'm sorry to talk over you. I was going to say, I've got a question for you, gentlemen, and maybe the chat room. It kind of goes back to what we were saying about an hour ago, but Allen Robinson can't be happy right now, given that, there's like 200 receivers with better statistics than he has right now, and given the precarious nature of his contract. So my question is, let's say, and this is completely hypothetical, but let's say Robinson let his agent know, look, I want out of here. This is hurting my bottom line. I want a fresh start. I want away from this bald fuck who's the coach. Would it behoove the Bears, in your opinion, to move A-Rob? I'm not calling A-Rob a malcontent, but we all understand the financial scrutiny that he's under right now, and for his next contract. Would it behoove the Bears to trade Robinson for maybe on the other end of that, either you get help on the O-line, maybe a tackle, maybe not a left tackle, maybe a right tackle, someone that's a starter with the team you trade him to, or maybe help in the secondary? Would that be better for the Bears to A, drop his salary and get help of one of the two positions you need help at, or because you're not throwing to him anyway? So, or do you think just keeping him and just, letting him go at the end of the year for nothing?
You have to wait until the playoff picture arises for that, since Allen Robinson is out of contract.
Trade deadlines in late October.
Right, trade deadline. You'd have to wait around till there. Yeah, but I don't think the Bears would do that. I mean, would I trade him for draft capital? Absolutely. If I was
not draft capital, I want
anything.
If I'm going to trade him, I want either a nickel corner or a right tackle, because you're probably not going to get a left tackle. But I want a starter, someone that can come in and help right now. Maybe a right tackle to help Fields, or maybe a nickel that could help your secondary, because and that wasn't the problem this Sunday, but it's still a problem.
Well, I will say this. The trade deadline is November 4th. Let me confirm that. Yeah, Tuesday, November 4th. So in the NFL week, that comes out to week 9, which I believe is the week that the Bears have their bye. No, it's the last game before the bye. So they would be essentially trading A-Rob just before the Steelers game. So I would say this. I would try as much as possible to reach a long-term agreement with A-Rob. That will be not my number one priority.
I agree.
Number two, if you can't make that, you're going to have to trade him to a team that you're going to give permission to try to work out a deal with A-Rob, because if you don't, then the other team knows it's going to be a half-season rental, because A-Rob will then become a free agent, or potentially they could franchise tag him, but it won't be a long-term deal. So what you get in return for A-Rob won't be substantial whatsoever. You're trading him to a team that says, hey, we just need him for the playoff push here. So here's a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. But if they sign him to a long-term deal, then perhaps you can get a 1st rounder, maybe not too likely, but definitely a 2nd rounder and a player to be named later kind of thing. So what is that? Did your air conditioner go on, Tooch?
Yeah.
That's cool. So I hate the fact that we might have to entertain that topic for real. But yeah, I don't think that you're going to get much in return unless the team receiving A-Rob is able to sign him, and that's tricky to do.
Yeah, he's probably the best player on the team.
Yeah,
you hate to lose him, because he has the potential for a 100 catch season. I just don't. I think he's had enough of Bears management and Matt Nagy to want to sign here.
Well, and PJ makes a good point here, because he says you can't sign A-Rob now because he's on the franchise tag and there's no negotiations with players who aren't a franchise tag. I guess that is right. You can't extend somebody's contract who's on the franchise tag. So that makes it even more difficult. Yeah, the Bears are fucked. Come on, man.
He's out of here. He's gone, because you're not going to franchise him again. And if you give him the choice to leave, he's going to go.
Mm-hmm. And
he's gone. He's gone.
And that's the awful thing about the predicament that we're in. Some people are saying, well, you should just fucking tank the season. Tank for what? It's not like if you get the number one overall,
You don't get
draft,
you don't get a first round pick.
That's right. It belongs to somebody else. So you're tanking for somebody else. No, you got to do whatever fucking possible to win games this season. You got to do it. You fucking got to do it.
Is it 2 more first rounds that we're not getting? 2 more years without a first round pick?
Just one, I think, right? For moving up to draft Justin Fields.
Yeah, because they got one this year. That's right. They got our pick at 20. Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's.
Hey, before I go, I want to say this real quick because I don't have a lot of time, and I've beaten up Khalil Mack on the show a lot, and I feel like my criticisms have been warranted at those times. But I also want to praise him now to show that I'm not just some asshole who doesn't like him. Khalil Mack obviously banged up his foot. He was in the medical tent, and we didn't even realize it at first. You said, "Where's Mack?" Looking out there, and I was like, man, I don't see him either. I don't even see him on the bench. And then I looked at Twitter and saw that Patrick Finley had said, he's in the tent, and he's in the locker room, or whatever the sequence was. And then we were watching him try to just stand there and not even really stretching anymore, but not with his helmet, and it didn't look good. So he sat out the rest of the second quarter, and he came back and got a sack, and he obviously wasn't 100%. He had a sack earlier in the game. So, I mean, and we saw him trying to fire up the defense at one point in the second half as well. So I got to give Matt credit, like at one point, he got a sack because Quinn had pressure and cleaned it up. And at one point he had pressure and Quinn cleaned it up and got a sack. So they're helping each other. That's positive. That's good. And he may not be a game changer the way I want him to be, like Garrett was Sunday. But you know what? He's playing, and he could have set out the rest of the half, and he didn't.
Hey,
or the rest of the game.
Dan, I apologize. I need to interrupt you because there is breaking news, and I want to get your comments on it before
Is this
you head out the
real
door.
breaking news or chat breaking in the chat room, or is it?
No, this is good, and I appreciate It's Brisson letting me know about it. I am over at theathletic.com. The Chicago Bears have signed a purchase agreement for the Arlington International Racecourse property in suburban Arlington Heights. The Athletic has learned the team is expected to make the announcement Wednesday morning. We are not surprised by this move. This is a quote that I'm reading as a spokesman for the mayor's office said, "We are not surprised by this move. We remain committed to continuing the work to keep the team in Chicago and advise the Bears that we remain open to discussions. However, just as the Bears view this as a business decision, so does the city of Chicago. This season, Soldier Field signed for a major contract with the Chicago Fire, and just last weekend, Soldier Field hosted the Shamrock Series, both of which were lucrative for the Chicago Park District and local economy. These examples and others demonstrate that Soldier Field remains a very sought-after venue, and as the mayor has said many times overall, the city and the Park District must explore all options to both enhance the visitor and fan experience." This is a long story, so I just read the first few paragraphs, but apparently the Bears are very, very serious about making this move. And we won't see them playing Arlington Heights if we do at all. But I meant to say we won't see them play there for several years if we ever do at all, because the Soldier Field folks still have a chance to win them back. But I agree with Ravi. It's good job, McCaskies. The Soldier Field is just, and Chicago has not kept up with the times in making that fan experience. And Dan, when you're out here next Sunday, you'll see that the fan experience at Soldier Field is not anywhere near what you and I experienced at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. Dan, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it just seems like the opportunity to keep the Bears in Chicago is like, to use an analogy, is like swimming upstream at this point. Again, I'm not there. It doesn't impact my life like it does you. Like your taxes are going to go up to finance the stadium, and it's going to be so cool for you to catch an Uber 2 minutes away and go to your fucking game, if you want to, because by that time you're going to be in your early 70s. Maybe you don't want to fucking drive to the game and deal with that shit, but you're going to be right there. So your Uber is going to be $6 or $10 or something. So yeah, that impacts you. But from an outsider perspective, in theory, I would love to see the Chicago Bears play in Chicago, a major market a major American city deserves a major American sports team. And you would think on paper that these two things could come together somehow, but everything's political and has red tape around it. And it just seems like this shit's happening. It's happening right in front of us. They're going to claim, the bid on that land, and they're letting us know, like, dude, we're next decade, we're out of here. So it's happening. They're giving us a real stadium. They're going to probably have a retractable dome, probably host the NCAA tournament, and probably host a Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl could be in your backyard.
Yeah,
that's right. And Dan, when you leave the airport and drive to my house, you're not coming to the plane, but when you're driving to my house on 53, you're going to look to your right and you're going to see the racetrack, and I'll take you there later in the day or sometime before you leave so you can get a closer look at it. But you're going to actually see that land that the Chicago Bears are purchasing. And
I'm going to take a video of it, and then in a decade, if I'm still alive, I'm going to be like, this is what it looked like, and come back and be in the stadium.
Tooch, your thoughts on the news?
I love it. Like Dan said, you're going to get a lot more events, man. You build a state-of-the-art stadium. I mean, the Bears were kind of wedged into using Soldier Field, keeping it. They dropped the stadium inside the colonnades, which to me never made a lot of sense. I mean, like, if the mayor's saying right now, hey, Soldier Field's still lucrative. There were other sites in the city they could have built the state-of-the-art stadium. They chose not to. Now the stadium that's been dropped into where Soldier Field is, it's not going to host anything. It's small. It's one of the smallest stadiums in the NFL, if not the smallest.
I think it is the smallest. Yeah.
Capacity is 62,000, 63,000.
Right.
They're not going to host any big events, like that. Like Dan's saying, you get an NCAA tournament with a retractable dome, man. You get the NCAA championship there. And then, you build a fan experience, like you say, put a casino there, top-notch restaurants. They might be walking distance to Morton's again, Aldo.
Yeah, there you go.
Put a Morton's and a casino, all sorts of stuff.
Stadium looks like a spaceship. Maybe they can call George Lucas back, and they can put their George Lucas Museum in there.
That would be cool too. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Arlington Park has its own metro stop. I mean, that's kind of, that's easy for folks to get to, whether you take the blue line out to Jefferson Park and transfer there. You could take the metro from Ogilvie Station all the way out to Arlington Park. There's lots of going into the city for people in the suburbs is a bit of a hassle, and I'm not sure that people are strictly coming from the city to go to Soldier Field to see the game. It's mostly people either visiting from out of town or in the surrounding suburbs that are attending the games anyway. So if they do it right, and they make transportation a little easier for fans to get there, they could have a stadium with 80,000 people, a little bit better revenue, and they're not paying the park district to rent the stadium anymore. They own it. They'll build it themselves. They'll own it. The NFL will finance it, although we're paying higher property taxes probably in Arlington Heights. Not that they're high, not that they're low right now anyways. But.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much more anyone can pay the taxes I pay in this fucking place, but that's a different day.
Hey, can I say something to you, Aldo? Because I got to get ready to go.
I was just going to turn it over to you because I know you got about 4 or 5 minutes left.
I want to say, I kind of said this at the beginning, but again, I'm not blowing, to use something that Phil would say, I'm not blowing smoke. And again, I say that with reverence, no sarcasm toward Phil at all. So I want to say again, I want to thank you for the experience over the weekend, and thank you for, doing the podcast with me the last year and a half. It's been great, and I've enjoyed it. And I always thought of you as my friend before, which is why I stayed around anyway. Because like I said, whatever problems may or may not have existed with you and other talent had nothing to do with me. You and I, we didn't have any quarrels, and you and I spoke about movies and TV and shit. The same things we talk about in here, we were saying in text, so I thought of you as my friend before we'd ever done a podcast, or thought of you, but certainly before I met you. But now when you meet somebody, it kind of takes it to another level. So it sort of authenticates your friendship. So I hope that you think of me as a legitimate friend, because I certainly think of you as that. And I want to thank you for just how gracious you were over the weekend. Like I said, just, I want to pick this up. I want to pay for that. I want to pay for that. I mean, it's not like you were obligated, nor, you just did it out of the kindness of your fucking heart is what I'm saying. Like, and who does that? Not a lot of people. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for inviting me to your home this weekend. And I hope that A, I have my jersey and my fucking hoodie, but B, I hope that the experience is great this weekend. I hope we get a victory. I hope we go to Ditka's and do all these things, and that it's great. And I hope that I don't impose on your family in any way. And I'll be as respectful to your house as I would if it were my own. So again, I want to thank you for everything, man. I guess I've rambled enough. There it is. I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate that very much, Dan. You're always welcome in my home, and you're my good buddy, one of my best friends, as is Tooch, Johnny Santucci. And I will let you go, Dan. Get to work, make some money, save some lives, and we'll talk again.
That reminds me, there's a Jake Gyllenhaal movie coming out Friday on Netflix that's about the 911 operator, Dan.
Whoa!
Checking that out. It's Antoine Fuqua film.
Oh, he's a great director. Training Day.
The Halle Berry 911 movie is horrible, and I don't watch that show either. But yeah, I got to go do that till 4 p.m. But as I go, I'm going to say this completely to tug on my own cock. I was told by the owner of my station today that I won Personality of the Year on radio in the state of Virginia. I do not have my plaque yet, but apparently it happened over the weekend when they would have had a banquet, but they didn't because of COVID. So they just announced the winners, and I'm supposed to get a plaque. So I've won all these awards before for my sports coverage, but this is the first time I've submitted anything for just my classic rock radio deal.
Good.
So I kind of feel like that acknowledgement means that I can tell my owners here, or my owner and my the person that is my boss, to say, hey, see, I don't suck. Kind of feel like I've sort of authenticated by winning that. So I'm very proud of it. And I don't mean to sound like that's my sin, like vanity right now, but I was told right before we turned the mic on. So tonight, by Bob, he's like, hey, congratulations. I was like, for what? I thought he was going to say you went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or sorry the Bears lost, but no, he says drops this on me. I was like, wow.
You're getting a lot of congratulations in the chat room, and Chubbs wants to know, how is it that Dan keeps winning all this shit in West Virginia?
Well, this is actually in Virginia, but we're on the border. I'm in West Virginia, but the border is just so close. It's like you could have, one of our stations, for example, is 100,000 watts, but you could just have basically a small radio station and go to Virginia because it's so close. But so that's how I won in Virginia, was because we're so close, so I could enter in Virginia too, because it goes all over Virginia as well as West Virginia. So, but it wasn't me. If he's trying to imply that it's some kind of fucking joke or something, it was by all the other ones are from the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this is the Virginia Broadcasters Association. Also, I won sports with them last year too. So it's not just some fucking joke, man. I know he's proud of his service and stuff, but I'm proud of my fucking job too, man.
He's not. He just asked a question.
But it's with a lot of fucking, I always take little jabs, man. And like, I've never said anything back. And that was a fucking jab. Let's just call a spade. But I gotta go. I love everybody who's listening.
I don't think it was a jab. And if it was, I think he meant it only in jest. He said, as he puts it right here, I'm just fucking with you, Dan. Dan, sometimes you have thin skin.
Okay, I'll own that. But
I could listen to Dan Aguire all day.
I don't want to fucking take little jabs when they smile at me and say I'm supposed to take it and fucking smile about it. Anyway, I gotta go.
I love you, Dan.
I'll see you Saturday, Danny boy.
I can't wait to meet you. All jokes aside, too. Thank you.
All right, brother.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, if I was renting a car, and I would complain after I was done renting it that I couldn't get Dan Aguire on the radio. That's how much I love listening to his voice. Am I wrong in
saying that he has sensitive skin sometimes?
There's nobody more sensitive. Let's be honest. PJ asked a question, man. I was like, how how easy is it to get to Arlington from, say, somewhere out, central Illinois, for example? I'd say it's a lot easier than getting to downtown Soldier Field.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, you just fly up 55 from central Illinois. That turns into 355, and takes you right to Arlington almost.
Right.
Right up the north-south tollway.
53 can get a little crowded with traffic, especially around Schaumburg,
around Woodfield. Yep.
So they would have to make some infrastructure changes, and the streets along the racetrack and so forth.
Sure.
Took property.
Euclid Avenue.
Yeah, but this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar project, and so the roads are going to be expanded. They're just not going to build a stadium, and everything's going to be the same. So it is going to be good. And I saw what Michael Diaz. Yeah, he says, Michael Diaz says traffic will kill you. But before that, he said, as long as it's the Bears' own money, and I agree with that in terms of the edifice itself, but there has to be some tax dollars put in for road construction and so forth. And the return on that for us taxpayers is more jobs, blah, blah, blah. So hopefully this is done the right way. I wouldn't want... If they're going to come to us, McCaskies are going to come to us. Oh, and by the way, this is all completely taxpayer funded. I'm going to say, get the fuck back to Soldier Field.
Yeah.
My property taxes are already astronomical.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, the NFL will finance, a large portion of this.
Like the NFL will, Tooch?
They've done it with other stadiums.
Okay.
I don't think they were doing it as much back when the Bears, dropped the spaceship into Soldier Field. But I think the Cowboys stadium was partially financed by the NFL. If the Bears have to take a loan out from the NFL, fine. That's let's be honest. They could create something state of the art there. As far as fan experience, top-notch hotels, restaurants, and a casino. Man, that would be killer. You could spend a whole week there, and then go to the game on the last day and fly out. O'Hare's 15 minutes away, 10 minutes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
By the way, Chubbs says, Aldo, sell me your house for $100 and I'll let you live there. I don't have to pay property tax. And I'm like, okay, I'll talk to my wife right away about that. I'm sorry, Tooch, I interrupted you.
That's all right. I was done.
Listen, before we finish up here, I want to ask you a question about your Twitter handle.
Yes.
Santucci VIP. Talk to us about that.
I had to reinvent myself for the podcast I do called Maximum Edge Sports Wagering Show. And I had to do, and I told them when we have a marketing group that helps market the show, and they help market my Twitter handle, and they insisted that I reinvent myself as a handicapper, which I was resistant to because I started doing it for fun. I when it became legal January 1st in Iowa. I got into it and made some money betting on the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, and continued that into college basketball, where I was really I was picking games, pretty well during college basketball, and then lost a lot of money betting baseball, which I'll never do again. So baseball, I'll be not betting baseball. I kept losing. So football's come around. It's more of a sport that I know, and like I said, when the Bears lose and if I make money, it doesn't hurt as much, So I know my team, and I know if they're going to lose, I'm going to make some money off of it because I'm here to supplement my income with either sports wagering or giving advice or tips. So the VIP is I have some people who subscribe to me for picks, and I was hitting about 55%. For which is pretty good. I mean, the best gamblers in the world lose 43% of the time. It's just the fact.
Absolutely.
57% of the time is good, really good. 55% of the time is good too. 60% is you're otherworldly. That just doesn't happen because you're like 2 bad weeks away from you losing your entire bankroll. So you know, like I always say, the best bet you make is sometimes a bet you don't make. So I've been a lot more conservative, and I'm just picking, you know, a couple games that I'm really sure of, you know, I'm betting that on the weekend and been doing pretty good with. But, you know, I have to give out free picks, you know, as part of the marketing service. And they're getting us some good guests coming up, you know, on the show, like David Bierman and hopefully the Crack Man, Bill Krackenberger, who's like a legend in sports gambling. And you know, other people in the little circle of handicappers and stuff that work in the little Twitter group we have. But it's been fun, man. I love talking college football now, and I talk about a few games Sunday for NFL, usually 4 or 5 on Sunday morning. Saturday morning, about 4 or 5 or 6 college games, and then we talk about the Thursday night football and college football and Friday night college football games. And then, of course, Monday night, we're talking just Monday Night Football. I'll keep the show down to about 15 minutes for, you know, Monday night and Thursday nights, and about a half hour for the other nights.
Where do people find this show?
It's a Maximum Edge sports wagering show on YouTube and Twitter Live. You can follow Maximum Edge podcast, Max Edge podcast on Twitter. And we go live, you know, on all the same time as YouTube Live. And actually, if you send a follow request to Max Edge VIP, you'll get access to that Twitter handle, and you'll get a free pick every day.
Well, that's funny that you would say that, because somebody was just asking for a pick tonight. Laz, give us one tonight, Tooch. Come on, give us a pick
tonight.
Give us a winner. Give us a winner for tomorrow's action. Let's take a look at what's going on. You don't bet baseball anymore, right?
I don't like betting baseball.
What about Thursday's football game? Who's playing
Thursday's football is Bengals and Jaguars. I'm telling you, 7. What I would do is probably I'll probably take the under in that game. That's where all the money is on the under right now for that game. And like I said, I've been fading rookie quarterbacks. They can't put any points up. So the Jaguars, you know, they've got the number 1 rookie quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And then you've got the Bengals, you know, and sure, the Bengals can put up some points. They just beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. They played like horse crap against the Bears, you know, but Bengals could put some point ups. I don't think the Jaguars will put much points up, so I'm probably leaning for the under in that game. I haven't capped that game yet, though, but it's 7.5, you know, plus 7.5 Jaguars. That half-point hook would make you want to take the Jaguars, but if I was betting, I'd probably buy that hook and take the Bengals -7. But I haven't made a decision either way. My initial lean would be the under.
I got to tell you, man, I think the Bengals are going to blow the Jags away.
It's a disaster in Jacksonville too.
It really is. Yeah, I mean that's something that we failed to talk about. But all of the rookie quarterbacks, I was so high, and I still am. I still am high on the 5 quarterbacks that went in round 1. All of them, I think, are going to have good NFL careers, and maybe some of them great NFL careers. And still high on Justin Fields, still high on Trevor Lawrence, still high on Zach Wilson, still high on Trey Lance, although he's only seen a handful of snaps of that, and still high on Mac Jones. But they're 1-11 so far this season. In fact, those 5 guys are the 5 least ranked quarterbacks, or I should say 4, because Trey Lance is not on there.
Right.
Those 4 guys who have seen playing time are considered among the worst in football statistically right now. And that's okay. That's okay. If you heard the montage that we started the show with, you know, a lot of great quarterbacks, their debuts started off poorly. And
Troy Aikman.
Troy Aikman is
15.
John Elway, another one.
Elway, yep. They got to take their lumps, you know, but yeah. Like I said, I've been fading the rookie quarterbacks, whether it's taking the under in their games or just betting straight out against them. You know, Cincinnati's a better team than Jacksonville. That's what I mean. Jamar Chase has been fantastic. That guy is just 4 touchdowns already. You know, after taking a COVID year, you know, at LSU, you know, he's reunited with Joe Burrow, and he's catching some deep balls. That guy is fast. I would have loved him on the Bears, but you know, I love the Justin Fields pick. We haven't had an athlete like that at quarterback ever for the Bears. It's just Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy is ruining him. Yeah, Notre Dame or Cincinnati Saturday. That is a tough call. I don't know the spread, and I think Notre Dame's getting points at home, but Cincinnati's got a good quarterback too. That's going to be a tough. But Notre Dame's defense is really good. If they're getting points at home, I like to take a home dog. You know, home dogs are cleaning up this year. You could tease the home dog, you know, with another team, and then you're getting like +9 at home for Notre Dame with another team, you know, that you like in the game.
Were you surprised at the Wisconsin Notre Dame game on Saturday? The results of the game.
I had Notre Dame in that game. No, Wisconsin. They can't pass the ball. They're one-dimensional. They've got a good running game, and the defensive front of Wisconsin is pretty good. But they were playing a home game on the road. You know, there's so many Irish fans in Chicago that was a home road game for the Irish. You know, Irish have a good defense too, and they got a little better quarterback. They can run the ball too. Cincinnati is playing for something. This is the Bearcats I'm talking about against Notre Dame next Saturday. They're trying to make a little statement. You know, hey, we deserve to be in the playoff picture of college football. And Notre Dame also, you know, Notre Dame's been to the playoffs. I probably would take Notre Dame. My initial lean is for Notre Dame. I think, you know, Cincinnati struggles in the first half with teams. They had a hard time with Indiana. I probably would lean Notre Dame initially.
Cool. I always like to bet on the Notre Dame game. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I am also a realist. If I think they're going to lose, I will bet against them. I'm the same way. I hate to do
I'm the same way with the Bears. I hated betting against my team. The Bears are my team.
Sure,
you know, I love the Bears. You and I I've been fans for 40 years. You've been fan for 50 years, you know, or more, 55 and 45. So you and I have been fans for a long time, man. When I was watching Bears games as a kid, Walter Payton was running the football. You know, there's no way I'm ever going to give up those memories of, you know, Walter. And, you know, Walter was all you had back then.
Exactly.
Yeah, I said this division probably you could win it 9-8 this season, you know, and Vikings and Packers are probably a little bit better. And the Vikings have talented offensive players. You know, you've got two really good wideouts, and then you got Dalvin Cook. I know he's often injured, but that guy can really run the football. Backup's not bad either. Kirk Cousins, you know, put some players around him, and he can manage the game, make the throws when he has to. And then you got the Packers. Their defense a little suspect, but they could still put up points at Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones. Those guys, those three, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams. Those three guys can change a game. You know, the Bears just don't have anybody like that. You know, Allen Robinson, sure, but there's just nobody to get him the ball. There's nobody protecting the quarterback for real. Injuries have decimated the Bears offensive line. Let's be honest. They're playing a guy, a 39-year-old they found off the street at left tackle. That's how bad it is.
It's pretty bad.
It's
but
bad.
The biggest blame goes to one particular person.
I've failed in a lot of different ways.
Right?
It's the same stuff every year. He says the same things, but he never changes anything. He never learns from his mistakes. It's so frustrating. You ever meet somebody that just doesn't learn from their mistakes?
Oh yeah,
you know, over and over again, making the same mistake. You know, he's like a play calling addict. You know, it's like
that's well put.
He can't give it up. You know, he has to call plays. That's what he does. He's like a junkie.
Yep.
You know, it's just he won't give. He gave Bill Lazor one game last year, and they did awesome. Then he took it right back.
Yeah, I know.
I was so bored. I was so bored coaching the game. I wanted to call plays again. He got bored. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same BS.
It is time for us to pull the plug on this episode of Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls and John Santucci. let people again know where they can contact you and check out your show.
Yeah, at John Santucci VIP, at Max Edge Podcast. You can watch live. Our next time will be live is 12:30 Central on Thursday and 12:30 Central on Friday, and then Friday mornings we start at 9 a.m. Central. So we talk a little bit longer. Saturday we talk college football, and then we have we've been doing really good. We give out a free play every show. So our free plays are doing pretty good, man. Monday night we gave out Dallas -3. That was another easy bet. That was one of the easiest bets I ever made. I don't know why Philadelphia was, Dallas can really move the ball.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way Philadelphia could keep up with them offensively. I max bet Dallas -3, and that was easy money. But Thursday night we'll be talking. Thursday afternoon we'll be talking Bengals and Jaguars. Friday we'll be talking those 3 college games on Friday. And then Saturday we'll be picking some of the best games Saturday to talk about. And of course, Sunday talking NFL football. We'll have, guests and everything. So, and answer questions from the chat room.
Excellent.
Yep. And a free pick every show.
All right. Tooch, thanks very much. And we'll definitely be checking out your show. And you and I will talk off air in the next day or two.
Yep.
I got to catch up with you.
I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. We'll definitely meet up on Saturday.
I'll be there.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot. All right. I want to let everybody know what is going on with the with the Barroom Network. Let's see. Tomorrow, what do we got going on tomorrow? We have got Buffon 55 for Bears football coverage, and that's at 7 p.m. Jeff Risdon is going to be John's guest. And if you've never heard or read Jeff's work, he's phenomenal. He is an outstanding reporter. He covers the Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns. Isn't that wild? And he's going to provide us with a lot of information of what we can expect from this Detroit team. So that's going to be a fascinating part. Alyssa Barbieri is still unfortunately out, so I'll be working with John on that show. And so the second part of the Buffon 55, I will ask John 5 questions that he's got 55 seconds to answer in honor of his uncle, Doug Buffon, who wore number 55. And then in the third segment, Neil Stopchinski will join us for Buffon's Basement, and we'll get into an in-depth discussion about some of the major topics affecting the Bears. Earlier tomorrow, 2 p.m. tomorrow, we've got Bar Down, our Blackhawk NHL talk show. So if you're a hockey fan, I really encourage you to tune into that show because it is very well done by the Parisi brothers. They come very well prepared, lots of great information, lots of provocative thoughts. So there's that. And then before that, at 11 a.m., so I've done the schedule backwards, starting from night, afternoon, and morning. Late morning at 11 a.m. Central, Greg Gabriel and myself are going to talk about the Chicago Bears. It's really going to be Greg. I'll ask him questions, and he has the stage to share information about what he saw in that game against Cleveland, talk to us about what he expects to happen with Matt Nagy. Greg has a lot of insight into what is happening in the NFL and with the Chicago Bears. So perhaps he might have an inkling as to what could be happening in terms of the futures of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. So that's going to be super interesting at 11 a.m. Central tomorrow. Greg Gabriel at 2 p.m. Bar Down, NHL, Blackhawks talk, and then at 7 p.m. Buffon 55. I've probably forgotten a bunch of other stuff, but I am now very tired, and it is time to say goodbye. Follow us at Barroom Network on Twitter. I will be posting updates on our schedule. Sometimes things shift around a little bit, but pretty much what I shared with you about Wednesday's schedule is pretty much locked in stone. So hopefully you can join us then, and then for some of our programming later in the week, Danny Shimon and I are planning a Bear Truth episode at 8 p.m. Central. He's already picking out highlights of the game against Cleveland. Not highlights, lowlights, tragedy, war footage, the bombing of the Bears. So that's going to be fascinating to get his insight into the tape. So that's it for now. Thanks a lot for all of the people who joined us live. That was outstanding. Your interaction really helps make this show what it is. And thanks to Dan, I love him too. I yelled at him twice today about his long story about his hoodie and stuff, and then towards the end about Chubbs just fucking with him. But I love him. I love him, and I'm so fortunate to be doing this show with him. All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.